everyone to migrate on over from the morning stream. We already have a couple of eager beavers. We got Darwin, we got Vin. We even have Adara in the chat, which is good, right? You figured she'd be here since we're on the show together.
That makes sense.
What's up, Darwin? Wait for it. Yes, sir. Absolutely wait for it. I'm assuming you're talking about my introduction, which has been the same for, I think, over a year now since I started on the show, August 2022. It's been that long. Michael, Lloyd, Andrew, Chow, Cristiano Ronaldo. No, it's just Ronaldo. Up Candle, the Crazy Stitch Lady. We got a lot of people in the house. We got Naps. We got Vincent. We got Ralph Woodward, Malcolm Aldridge, Thomas Johnson. We got Tesla, Zach Griffin, Daniel. We got Ponzi Fonzie. What's the Lambo trade, baby? Dan the Man Emmons, Tim Cinder, Peter. We got Zion Lala and Chris Zeal. Good morning, Adara.
Good morning. How are you this fine Monday?
I'm all right. I didn't eat as much as, you know, other weekends in the past, but I did have my fill, so I'm pleased as punch about that. In an Apple long at the moment here, Adara, so we're going to talk about this one real quick. Got long, 186.29, and we're awfully close to hitting the dollar club thing because we are at 187.20. Let's go, Apple. Look, I sat down this morning, and I said to the Katina man, I said to the Neil, I said to the Brendo, all of them, without exception, I am buying more Apple. What I saw this weekend with respect to the Apple Vision Pro, this is a fundamental shift in how computing is going to be, and I'm very bullish on it. I'm sad that I didn't add more when it dipped down. That's neither here nor there, though, Adara. As we do the dance with no pants here with 187, do we hold up at these levels? We're up 0.2%. So we'll have to see what we get today on Apple. But before we get to that and before we see what Adara is trading, let's tell you a little bit about what we're going to be talking about this week. It's perfect timing to talk about how to trade earnings and all the different variables you need to have at your disposal if you're going to start looking at this earnings trade. So today, we're just going to talk about the different data points that you need to have set up, ready to go, and where to get these data points if you don't know where to get them already. And then Tuesday to Friday, we're going to be talking about different trading strategies with respect to earnings. So stick with us today. We have some of the basic stuff that some of you guys probably already know, but we got to cross our T's and dot our I's to make sure that everybody understands what we're talking about, Adara.
Yeah, I think it'll be a really good week. I am supremely excited for this week. I have some questions. I'm sure everyone will have some questions. And I think, too, much like no trading strategy is alike, no earnings trading strategy is going to be alike. But it's nice to know kind of the fundamentals, what to look for. And I think today especially will be a nice little primer on what to actually look for, especially if you're like Sean getting all excited about the Palantir earnings, or I know Sharif with the Caterpillar and Apple earnings, if there's this particular earnings that you're looking forward for a swing or for a day trade, or it's in your portfolio. What should you be looking for? We're going to be talking about that. I feel like I'm on the shopping channel, but yeah, it'll be I'm really excited for this week, and I think today will be a nice little intro, a beak wetting, if you will, into the world of earnings.
That's fantastic. All right, let's get right down to business. We're going to talk about the different sources where you can get a lot of this pre-earnings information. So right off the bat, you see date and time. That is the most important thing. You need to know when is your company reporting. I knew that Caterpillar was going to report this morning at 6:30 a.m. I had my computer ready. I had a stop limit order, which would trigger in the pre-market, by the way. We're not going to go down that road again. But in case, you know, it dipped below a certain level, I didn't want to be caught offside on this one. So right away, we can go into the Market Chameleon website. This is the website that I use. It's free of charge. I'm logged in, but you can create a free login here. Now, Market Chameleon gives you several data points that you're going to need. You're going to need to know when Caterpillar is reporting. So we already know that's February 5th in the pre-market. And you can tell in some of the pre-market because under time it says BMO, before market open. And then you're going to actually have the release time sometimes on this website, but not all the time on Market Chameleon. So for the actual specific release time of the earnings, I have to go to a different website called Earnings Whispers, excuse me, okay? And this is, yeah, hold on. How do I go over here? You know, that's for tomorrow. So I need the pre-market. Before the open. That's the one that I need. Before the open. How do I switch to before the open on this, Adara?
This one, I think you have to go to the next day. You have to go to the next day.
The next day.
Yeah.
Here we go. That I had to go the previous day. Yeah, same thing. Thank you for that. So with respect to the earnings time, you're going to see right there, it's going to say Caterpillar right there. And then right under Caterpillar, it's going to say 6:30 a.m. So right away, I know Cat comes out Monday, February 5th at 6:30 a.m. So if I had a trade on it or I wanted to set up a trade on it, I know the date and I know the time. Super simple. These are the two websites that I use. They're both free of charge. Anybody can use them. You can create an account for some more options. They are a free account, so I just want to really press that home. With the free account, though, you do get some additional data points that you typically wouldn't get. All right? So let's go on to the next topic. They're analyst expectations. What are the analysts expecting for the company that's reporting? Now, number one, you have several data points that you need to keep your eye on here. The current reporting quarter. So we're reporting for Q4 2023. What were the analysts looking for that specific quarter? That's data point number one. Data point number two, what is the guidance that's being expected by the analysts? Because there's two things here, how they did on the quarter and how they're projecting to do in the next quarter or in the next full year. So you need to have those two data points ready so that you can compare and contrast the earnings when they do come out. A lot of the times you'll see they beat on the current or the previous quarter, so Q4, it'll be a win on the top and bottom line, yet the stock's going down. Well, what's up with that? Typically, that is usually the guidance, the forward look that the analyst didn't quite like, and as a result, it sold off. So you need to have those two data points ready before earnings day. You got to have all this stuff ready ahead of time and be familiar with it. So you're looking for how they did in the previous quarter, so in our case, it's Q4 2023, and how they're guiding for Q1 or whatever full year 2024. You need to have those two data points ready. Questions or comments, Adair?
Yeah, no, I think too, I will say as well for Market Chameleon, I think like logging in is nice because you can look at the next day as well, and it is a free account. Yeah, this is one thing that Sharif told me as well, like right when I started, and I think that's really important. Also, what's nice too is Market Chameleon will have it organized by market cap. So if you want to see the biggest market cap, that's really good. I also like to use both when I make the earnings boards now because I've been doing that as of late, and so I like to combine, like, I think what's nice, earnings whispers will usually start with the most recognizable companies and some combination of market cap. Like Palantir is at the top of the earnings whispers board for tonight after close, sorry. But Market Chameleons, it's a little bit lower because it's based on market cap. So it gives you a good, if you look at both of them together in tandem, you get a good sense of A, what's reporting that I know, what are these big names people are going to be talking about, and B, what's reporting that has a substantial market cap worth noting. So I think that nice little marriage, that little bowl of soup of these two different factors can be really helpful when you're trying to, especially as a day trader, because, you know, Sharif was talking about the example of CAT, which is a really good example because you're in that swing trade. But the thing is, as a day trader, you want to know what's every stock that I could be trading or that I could have on watch. And I think what's nice about the combination of that is it tells you which of these names that are popular at trading or which that have a bigger market cap that the market's going to be watching. Can I be trading? Can I be looking for sympathy plays? So it gives you a nice little tapestry before you start earnings. And I think as a day trader, I think that's pretty important.
That's well said. I like that word tapestry because it's essentially a very colorful word to describe it properly. All right, let's get to some more data points we have to have here. So with the analyst expectations, Adara, with what the analyst is expecting to happen here, there is typically a projected move also on Market Chameleon. So you'll see in this column over here, it says expected percentage move. And that is based on a couple of things. Previously, they also look at the previous move, but they also look at the options volume. And they look at the put-call difference there to see where the market is predicting this bad boy to be. So you got to keep your eye on the options volume. Is there a lot of options participation in this particular name? If there is, then you could be expecting a larger expected move, especially if there's a lot of options participation in this name. Case in point, Palantir over here reports after the bell. Shout out to the Katina man. Make sure to check out the what do they call it? The market recap show. Thank you. Just had a dull moment there for a second. And look at the amount of options activity on Palantir, the largest of the bunch over here, about 250,000, more than 250,000, about 2 million, 200 and 2/3 there. right? 200,067. And then basically look at the expected move, larger than any of the other ones that are reporting today with respect to Palantir. So options volume, options participation often results in a larger expected move. So you're looking at that. What is the expected move for Caterpillar? What is the expected move for Palantir? And then you can look previously to see, well, if they beat or if they miss, what was the previous volatility on this like? And so you can see Caterpillar last time took a shellacking. It lost about 6 3/4 of its value from the previous day's close to the next day's close, okay? So that's how this is calculated. The day prior to earnings and then the day of earnings, where does it close? That's how that bad boy is calculated right there. And then you can see Estee Lauder, which reported this morning. Last time they dropped about 19%. This time they gained about 13%. What's up, Katina, man? NVIDIA short 683. The Katina man, you know what it is. It's the dollar club, baby. So if you're following along with the Katina man on his NVIDIA short, make sure to keep your eye on the chat because Katina man often is putting his positions during the midday show in the chat, okay? So keep your eye on that bad boy. So those are the two data points that I want to mention in addition, Adara, to what the analyst expectations were, that expected move. So you can have an idea what to expect if you beat or if you miss.
Yeah, and I think, too, it's really interesting to think about the role that options play. And Danielle Shea came on, I think, before Netflix's earnings. I know she'll come and talk about options as well. So I would say there's definitely lots of resources there. I think that's interesting because I don't think I really understood the extent to which people are considering options ahead of, because, I'm pretty new to the market. But I think keeping in mind what options are going to be doing or what they have done historically can really help you. It can really be kind of key and help you be like, hey, these are names that might be more volatile. Because the other thing I've noticed, too, is a lot of names that aren't going to be necessarily day trading names. You can day trade during earnings. Stuff like Caterpillar, stuff like Estee Lauder, which we're not going to trade a lot.
Exactly.
I said that really weirdly. We're not going to necessarily trade Mademoiselle Estee a lot, but on her earnings, you can. I mean, I have this pulled up. Look at this really nice move up to the upside here. We're up about 13% still. Just trying to kind of hanging out here. But the point is, we've got 4.4 million volume on Estee Lauder. So the point I'm trying to make is, I think there are lots of really interesting considerations that are very specific to earnings. And I think these are just a couple examples, and that's why I'm happy we got to start with this earnings overview before we get into more of the specifics, which we will later this week.
And I want to build on something Adara just said there. You hit a really good point, which is a lot of stocks that are not typically day trading stocks because of lack of volume, lack of interest, all of a sudden become tradable that day and the day subsequent, okay? So bang on point there, Adara. Like, I mean, you see Adara sometimes a hell of a range trader, and she showed you guys that last week because of the lack of volatility on some of the names that she was trading. Lilly, and some of the other ones, they were really range bound. So that's typical to these low volume names. But on a day like tomorrow, do you expect Lilly to be range bound?
I do not.
Right. I think Lilly will have some volatility given that it is earnings. So you're bringing up a really good point there, Adara. These non-day trading stocks all of a sudden become in play on earnings day. I didn't mean that for that to rhyme, but we'll take it. We're absolutely printing on this Apple long here, baby. We literally got bottom wick on that double bottom, 186.29, and the best fill we've got so far is this 187.48. So we're printing on AAPL. We're looking for a big move up. Guys, I am bullish Apple. I will not be convinced otherwise. Any dip on this dang stock, I'm going to be adding on from here on in, but that's neither here nor there. All right, next topic there, the earnings call, Adara. So another variable with respect to earnings. So one thing you have right away is the earnings release. So as soon as 6:30 came out, you got the algo spike on Caterpillar. It went down, then it popped back up, and then it started trending to the high side. But that isn't the only time you're going to have volatility on earnings day. The other time is the conference call, the earnings call. Why? Because new information is being relayed at that time to the analyst, and the market is digesting that new information. Hence, therefore, you have a new variable that can cause volatility. And so you have to be very careful and make sure that you know exactly when the earnings call is going to be for that particular name on that particular day. Case in point here, Caterpillar, we had an 8:30 a.m. conference call. Brendo brought that to you at the big desk. As well, McDonald's also had their call right at 8:30 as well. So very interesting. All these data points here free of charge. Market Chameleon, somebody was asking me about this in the chat. All that information is free with a free account, but the other website we're using is this Earnings Whispers Earning Whispers website, because it does give you the release time, whereas the other one, sometimes it's got it, sometimes it doesn't. So those are the data points that you need to have going into earnings for a company. Questions or comments, Adair?
I think not too many at this time. I think it's just really important too, and that's what I really like. You know, Sean and Neil and Brendan and Sharif on the big desk in the morning will always have it like, hey, you know, here's when the call is, because, and this is something that might not matter as much if you're in a swing, but if you're in a day trade and you're there and then the call comes and they say something that shocks the market. Yeah. I sound like the PayPal CEO now, but I think that you know, something to keep an eye on, because that can really impact your decision. And I find sometimes the market will sometimes react to an earnings call more than it might react to the news itself. So if you remember, October 18th, 2023, Elon Musk hopped on the mic for his Tesla earnings, and then that earnings call ended up kind of shaking the market a little bit more than the earnings itself. At least that was a lot of people's interpretations, because he was a little bit of a dour mood on that call, and then it put investors of Tesla in a dour mood. So I think really keeping an eye on what's being said in the call and any key highlights, I think can be really important, and can kind of also give you a sentiment about the stock going forward, not even just that day. Because I will say, I think October 18th, 2023. You
remember that?
I remember that. That was a day for Tesla investors.
He was like downbeat. He was so like, he's like, oh, interest rates are hurting my cars, my poor cars. No, we're kidding, of course.
Yeah, it's not a bad interpretation. No, I'm joking, but yeah, I think the point I'm trying to make is that's kind of an extreme example, but it's why it's nice to kind of keep an eye on what's being said, both for the stock that you're trading and if you want to trade it in the future. What are the sentiments coming out of the company itself?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Everything valid there. All right, so those are just the data points the basic data points. You should, you can obviously have a lot more, but those are the basic data points that you need to have if you're going to hold a trade, a swing or otherwise, into earnings. You got to be prepared for all these different data points, because they do cause volatility at different times of the day. So that's what we're going to talk about there. And then tomorrow, we'll be talking, from tomorrow till Friday, we're going to be talking about different trading strategies for earnings. And I'm just going to, wet your beak a little bit here with respect to what we'll be talking about. For all my options traders there, we're going to be talking about a straddle or strangle option strategy for earnings tomorrow. So make sure to stick around for that. It's called the straddle or strangle option strategy. We'll be talking a little bit about that and how you can employ that for some winning trades there on earnings. All right, back to AAPL here, Derek, because we're almost up 1% on the day. Apple knocking on the door of that 187 2/3. I've got my beak wetter here at 187.69, because what's life without whimsy, right? So we're waiting for a possible print there at 69s on AAPL. We're letting this one go because we do have that high of day with which to keep an eye on, which is that essentially 188 break. It broke through 188. It got to about 188 2/3, and there we go. We get the fill at 187.69. So Apple continuing to pump to the high side. It's not the strongest name on the block today, that's for sure. With respect to the Mag 7, it's being outdone by, I was going to say outdone by Google, but it's kind of competing with Google right now. It's definitely being outdone by NVIDIA, though. NVIDIA 3 1/3 to the good. We were talking about a possible 700 break today on NVDA. NVIDIA continues, obviously, its ascent into higher highs, Adara, but we just got that print right now on AAPL at 69s. Please, punch.
Oh, yeah, taking a bite out of the apple there with some beak wetters. Congratulations,
you were waiting for that one, weren't you?
On to you. I really was. The second you were like, oh, we're going to wet our beak there, I was like, but yeah, also, Meta's moving. As someone who's also in a Mag 7 long here, Meta is getting a Meta move to the upside. This trade required a patience that I do not always possess, but I got in because I liked this kind of compression-y thing we were doing below VWAP. I realized it was a little bit of a riskier trade, but I watched for a while. We were holding that. I initially got in 461.35 because we held that area pretty well. The plan was always to get out if we have that decisive break below that 460-ish area. We got near that area, and we bounced right back up, and I was like, Adara, you're going to have to pack the patience in your Samsonite for this one. Shout out to Sharif with packing the patience. I did add a little bit to the position just above 461 as well, because we were holding that for a spell, for a time. But I think I'm going to have to get Beak wetter set up here just below that 462 area, should we touch it. So that is now in the works. It is cooking in the oven, or I guess it's in development in the reality lab, perhaps. That would maybe be more an apt terminology. Oh, I do have to discuss the disheartening NVIDIA short earlier. Now, this was a risky trade. I wanted to short NVIDIA because I noticed this 90 MA rejection, although in retrospect, I should have looked at these candle wicks to the downside and been like, Gadara, sellers or buyers overwhelming sellers, like, come on, right? Like, I think I really need to zoom out more. I think that's one of my biggest issues, especially when taking some of these riskier Mag 7 trades. But anywho, I did like execute it properly. I got it when we broke above that 681. However, had I scalped a little bit better under this, I probably actually could have taken profit and not run away with my tail between my legs. So that, which I ended up doing. But, happy I got it where I did. That's the rub with this NVIDIA trade here. Also, I am watching Mademoiselle Lily, I have to say, because she is well above 1 milli. She's actually above 2 milli right now. And this one, moving higher, did get a price target increase from Jefferies to 768 from 732. So that is not small potatoes over here. Also, could be moving in tandem with Novo Nordisk, which is seeing some nice moves up as well. Though this one's kind of chilling out a little bit now, Novo, because this one is in a deal to buy Catalent to increase its Wegovy production.
Fabian, wrong screen. Sorry about that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. But yeah, so I mean, I'm watching. The one thing I'm kind of want to be cognizant of is this could be a retracement. This could be a head and shoulders or a Christmas tree, but there's not really a second shoulder. And I also don't want to diagnose a move before it occurs. So I just, just keep an eye on Eli Lilly. Also, Kashif in the chat mentioning another stock I like trading that I haven't really had an opportunity to get into yet, and that is Tesla short at VWAP, question mark. Let's see. I mean, the movement hasn't happened. I think right now that little bounce off that 175.50 is going to be kind of more what I'm focusing on. However, I do like what you're saying here in that, sometimes certain levels can have confluence with VWAP, and Tesla was bouncing off VWAP to the downside this whole way through. Then we kind of were hanging out around that 179.50 and then fell with a swiftness. That could be a level to keep an eye on because that is actually kind of exactly where our VWAP is now, although VWAP can move. But yeah, I think to answer your question, I do like that move or that area around that 179.50. It's something I will be keeping my eye on. I would probably be looking at that number specifically and less so than the fact that it is at VWAP, because especially if we do get that move up, VWAP will probably change a little bit because it does move. It reacts to the market a little bit. It's a little malleable. Yeah. That's saying that 179.50 rejection is interesting. Meta slowly kind of moving up towards, so we can hit the like button on Meta, hopefully, if we can get a little bit of that out around that 462 area. I would be pleased as punch, and we are, I reacted to, I saw part of the spread, not the second part of the spread, so we do not have that peak butter yet. My apologies, but yeah, exciting.
I hate that when it doesn't cross. I'm like, cross.
Oh, part fill. But yeah, so I'm gonna keep partying over here. But yeah, nice. I mean, I'm joking. The NVIDIA trade was still rough. But NVIDIA rejecting VWAP also could be interesting here because that was that for a short as opposed to where I actually got in because we have all that consolidation. We have that same area that we were chopping and churning in the pre-market. This actually might have to be short, I consider, and then just get out if we cross over that VWAP here. But that would be the risk would be a little dicey here. So I want to wait and see some rejections. I want to be reading the book like a librarian before we make any steady decisions here. But yeah, just trying to learn and get better and not repeat that cursed NVIDIA trade from earlier today.
Yeah, sounds good. Wanted to mention here a couple of things. First and foremost, we didn't mention any of the small cap gappers, so we got to go through that. So you got a lot on the plate today, some of them giving up the ghost, some of them continuing. MOR, this one continuing to go. It's reasonably priced at around that 15.5. It's done about almost 11 million shares of volume. This one did halt at around 10.15 to the upside. It's only been one halt, and now we're doing that kind of sideways consolidation. I'm talking about MOR. Morphosis is the name of the company. It is $2.4 billion market cap, so not small, not a small cap gapper. With respect to the float, it does have a bit of a smaller float for such a large market cap company. About 32.5 million shares is what the float is on MOR. Let's find out what the short float, if any, is. And it is, I don't want to say negligible, but it is around 3.25%, so nothing really too big to write home about. Now, this one, You guys know I'm not going to chase this one at highs. I'll be looking for something like a dip trade near VWAP, near that whole dollar area at 15. It did hold up at 15 several times, but I don't know if I want to be jumping at that whole dollar right quick. Only reason is we're putting in sequentially lower highs here off that 16 touch. Now we're knocking the door of 15 and a quarter. So I'm going to watch to see what this does at around 15 bucks, at around VWAP. VWAP on my chart right now about 1480 is the VWAP on MOR. So we'll keep an eye on that one. The other small cap gapper du jour today, we've got RVSN. This one is a multi-day runner.
Again?
It's been running for 2 weeks, Adara. This one keeps continuing to pump to the high side. Again, this one doesn't have the defined pre-market high that I usually typically require for these small cap gappers, but that's okay. We can make an exception for this one because it is a multi-day runner. It is a multi-day story. 2+ weeks this one's been running, so we don't have to give it the exact same rules as the other one, but I would definitely always follow my rule with respect to getting it on a dip trade rather than chasing it at highs. So I want to see what we do here at around 14 and a quarter, 14 and a half. If that level doesn't hold up, I want to see what we do at 14 to 3 and a quarter, because look at that crest over here on the 9 a.m. pop there. So we got about to 14 or so, maybe in and around there if it dips. So we'll have to see what RVSN does. And then the one that Adara brought you this morning, I said Adara brought you this morning, GRRR, G-R-R-R. Love this one. The Gorilla Technology. No, this is not Gorilla Glue. It is a different company. That's what I kept thinking initially about this company. Anyway, $69 million market cap. The float, a little larger, 40 million shares. It's doing the dance right now with $1. Does it hold up above a buck? That's going to be the main question here with these sub $1 small cap gappers, especially when they come into that dollar area. Sure, it's breaking above a buck right now. It's got to about a buck 09, but does it hold that area? Do we get a topping tail candle and then retrace for newer lows? So keep your eye on GRRR. And if it continues to hold that $1 area, then the dip trade off $1 might be in play here. So we'll have to watch what this one does, but definitely in play at the moment. And then the other one I want to talk about super quick before I send it back to Adara is FDMT. So this one a bit more expensive. It is up 70+% on the day. The market cap on FDMT, it's called 4D Molecular Therapeutics. This is a $1.25 billion market cap. It does have a catalyst on the day. This one really skyrocketed aggressively. It was about 17.5 where we closed out on Friday. The high this morning, 35 2/3. We're definitely retracing now back into that $30 area. If you waited for the bell to take the pre-market high on this one, you were rewarded with a $3 winner, but then it really did retrace. So this one didn't continue to go after the bell there. So we'll have to wait and see if it can hold above 30. VWAP on my chart around 32.25. It's below that now, therefore not tradable for me. So we'll have to see what FDMT does. And I have a couple of other ones here on watch, CAMP and CHEA, but these guys are below VWAP right now and not tradable. We'll pack our patience and see what we get on these stocks for small cappers on the day. As I tell you about that, let me tell you about this. Apple now just $1 in the money as it does retrace off that 187.80, and now we're trying to hold that 187.25. What's up, Katina, man? Oh, we're way past $1 in the money on it. It's actually retracing. The Katina man has now $4 in the money on the Meta short, baby.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations to you. Congratulations to Sean. I exited that Meta long. We did fat finger our way out of this, but honestly, it ended up working out okay. Starting near the bottom of that area. We're still slightly positive on this name. We're still not positive on NVIDIA, but unfortunately, you know, it was a situation where we missed my first speed quarter here by a matter of cents. It was even, I think, like a spread thing. But yeah, we're coming back into the area that I entered, that 682 and some change. If we hold this area, I may add a skosh to this position because it's a pretty small position. I think one of the big things I worked on last week and trying to work on as well this week is building the positions, building the whole tapestry instead of just putting everything in. And then I keep using tapestry today. But yeah, I mean, why not? Basically, I want to get out of this if we see a break above that decisive, that range, that 683 area, because that chop and churn there was something to behold. So we're going to have to be very cognizant as we get up here. The other argument with NVIDIA, you could make the thesis it's trying to stutter step its way back up to VWAP, but I think this chop and churn just below VWAP here is maybe a bit too strong to ignore. That being said, NVIDIA is kind of making me test my patience and my life choice here, but not yet. We have not broken above that area. Like I said, patience and piecing into positions are kind of two of my new things I've been trying to work on to add to the tool chest. Also, yeah, Meta, I did get out. It was a fat finger move, but I'm not gonna look back at it and cry. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened, I guess. And so this wasn't like an entirely unsuccessful trade. Like I said, I'm just really working on proofreading my trades before pressing submit. Also, Eli Lilly, I want to watch that VWAP. I do not want to get involved in this name either direction yet, but if we break below VWAP, that's a lot of downside that I could be interested in. If we bounce off of VWAP, I would be absolutely eyeing what we do around this basically 706. Because why? Look at this this chop and churn here at this 70, I guess 707, right? Because we had that area here, go back down, then we consolidate around 707 for a while. Then it's basically a short from there. So I think 707 is something I'm going to be watching. Meanwhile, though, NVIDIA knocking on the door of VWAP, so I may have to knock on the door of getting out of this trade and getting my life together.
What are your thoughts about the Lilly VWAP hold? I mean, I didn't analyze it nearly as much as you. You've been obviously keeping your eye on it much closer.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts there about the VWAP retracement on Lilly? Just because of the upgrade, that's the only reason it's popping?
As far as I'm aware, that's the only major thing I saw. But the other thing with Lilly worth noting is it could be like a sympathy with Novo.
Oh, that's a good point.
And it has earnings tomorrow.
And it has earnings. So a lot of people could be positioning into it prior to earnings. And that's what we saw with Caterpillar last week.
Oh, yeah.
It was just going up for really, we don't really know why, a lot of positioning. I'm assuming, a lot of these people, they get retail data. So they know, like, for example, today, one of the main headlines for Caterpillar was their dealer inventories were down super big. And so if their dealer inventories are down, meaning they're selling more, that's something you can probably find out if you have a connection with the dealer, and that wouldn't even be insider information.
Really?
That's because that's just like not within the company itself. That's just that retail, right?
That's cool.
Yeah. So if you get that data point, then you can kind of anticipate what the company is going to report with respect to earnings in some respects. So I'm assuming that might have something to do with it. Anyway, AAPL, that's the only one I'm involved right now. Now we're looking for other stuff. So we're going to keep an eye on the future as we just popped up above and held for a couple of candles here this 17.6 break that we got earlier today on the NQ March contract. That was a big move down there from essentially 9:30 onwards. So the bell rang and we were basically, how much did we lose there off the top? Almost lost about 200 points there off the top, plus or minus about 10 or 20 points or so from the top there to the bottom on that move from 9:30. We're moving up above 17.6 right now. So the next level I'm looking at here on the future is 17.6 2/3. That'll take us into VWAP. To go green on the day on the futures, we got to break above that 17.731 or 32. That is the close there. So we'll have to wait and see whether we can make it up there. But obviously, what we're looking for first is how we do here with VWAP on the future. So that's the look for me. It looks like Tesla's curling back up a little bit here, but NVIDIA is still the strongest of the bunch. And if this market gets going, I mean, we're above VWAP right now on NVIDIA. This market gets going, we could definitely look possibly to highs there about 695. It was 694.97 was the high of day on NVIDIA. So we'll have to wait and see what we get there, but nice V-shaped recovery. Look at that. Look at that hammer candle, man. That just absolutely got bought up off that 672 area. Not a level that I was particularly looking at, 672 over here, but that was bought up aggressively on that dip. And yeah, well, about $13 removed off that level. And it's funny how Neil put into context for me today. He's like, yo, $7 on NVIDIA is a 1% move, right? So, I mean, you only need a couple of percentages more to break that 700 anyway. So we'll have to see whether 700 is still in play. It looks like it might be a little bit beyond our reach, $15 from where we are right now, but we'll have to wait and see. What is the chat looking at here? Dan, next thrust away from here, there could be determined the tone, not, what? Next thrust away from there could determine the tone, Now interesting, NQ is trading the same price it was right before non-farm payrolls number Friday. Okay, interesting. Interesting, thanks for that, Dan. We'll keep an eye on the NQ and at the Friday levels. Yeah, NFP obviously came in way above expectations. The market was looking for something like 100,000 and change, and we ended up getting 300,000 and change. So that was something we had to digest. Then we had Jerome Powell make an appearance yesterday on 60 Minutes and basically throw another curveball at the market, saying that the market's pricing in too many rate cuts and he'll likely not cut as many times as the market is predicting this year. And then we saw what that did to the futures yesterday. I was watching that live, 60 Minutes, and actually watching the futures at that time, and we did retrace on that news. So we'll have to wait and see what we get the rest of the day there.
Yeah, there's been, I have to say, you know, I will be out Nvidia, I have to say, for the rest of the day, unless there's a really good opportunity. Nvidia has stolen my trading confidence. It has stolen the paper funds for my future first child. No, I'm joking. It just was not a good trade here. Basically, we got above VWAP. I had to get out. It was just rough going. I need to be setting way tighter stops in this. I need to be way more cognizant of what they're doing. And I think, too, we were talking about knowing what style you trade. Adara, you trade ranges. Why are you trying to trade Nvidia? Like, when it's a day when it's not particularly rangy. Like, I saw this consolidation. I thought we could take it down to here, that area where we had some top and turn earlier. But there just was not, there wasn't this hold. We were like cents away from the entry. I cannot get involved in this unless where I'm going short, I go long instead, which that might be actually the way of doing it. Like, trade counter to what my instincts are, because it seems like the instincts are maybe not 100% awake yet. Maybe they need some coffee.
I know you're not much of a Seinfeld person. Like, you know a little bit here.
I know enough.
Have you ever seen the episode where George does the opposite of all his instincts and then he ends up like flourishing in life?
No.
It's like Jerry's like, if every instinct you have is wrong, then the opposite must be right. And then like he ends up meeting a really nice girl, getting a job with the Yankees. It's hilarious. It's just like,
I really like Jason Alexander, the guy who plays George.
Yeah,
he's
he's
really
hilarious.
Fun to say.
Yeah.
Watch that. Also, LP, 199 euro super chat. Thank you so much. Hey, mate, have a look into GME on Solana chain.
I got it up here.
Oh, okay, perfect. So I'll just
Are you talking about GME itself or something with GME and Solana? Because I didn't really understand that. I've got GME up here. It's down 5 2/3.
Oh, it's GameStop on Solana. Apparently, I don't know.
I have no idea. Do you guys know what that is? No, the Katina man doesn't know either. I mean, like, I have no idea. He says GME is GameStop on Solana. I really don't have any idea what that is. Care to explain, though, and I'd love to know
it's a
little bit
meme
more
token, Bears versus Bulls is saying.
Oh, okay. Well, we don't have access to that, do we? We don't. We have BTC now, but we don't have Solana. We don't have Solana, Katina man, do we? We will. We will have Solana. We don't have it currently, but we have crypto now. Yeah, I mean, look. You're talking to the wrong guy if you're asking about crypto over here. I just know the basics, but yeah, sorry, I couldn't help you there, LP, but we will look into it. Got my word on that. We will look into it. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I wanted to look into that. But yeah, so basically, I mean, NVIDIA, I appreciate, there was someone in the chat giving some helpful tips on that one. I cannot see it now here, but yeah, I appreciate. Energy is real currency, just saying where it was sitting on the EMA. So I'm going to be more cognizant of that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Right now, I'm trying to get involved in this Tesla long. And why I say that is, I was talking, I believe it was Kashif earlier in the chat asking if Tesla is going to be short around VWAP. And I said, well, I have to see if VWAP moves. However, the area that VWAP is at now, or what, at the time, and I guess still now, is interesting to me, that 179.5, because look at that chop and turn. So we just got filled for this really, really teeny tiny position on this long. I want to see where we hold. I basically wanted to get involved a little bit earlier because I want to kind of see where we hold here. Looks like I might have actually purchased into a falling Cybertruck. My version of a falling knife on this. But yeah, if we hold well, kind of around this, above this 177.20 area, I'm interested. Took a really, really, really tiny piece, so I can build the Cybertruck with that whatever fancy steel they use. This analogy was nice. But yeah, basically what I want to do is piece it up every time we get like a nice little pop up here with the intention of getting everything out by the time we hit that 179.50, because that 179.50 I am going to be watching. Because that was where we had some chop and turn, then we fell to the downside earlier. Fell with a viciousness, may I say. And also, we were dancing around VWAP at the time. But yeah, it looks like this area of entry. Also, I chose it because it was kind of aligning with where we had that pop up earlier. So I like when I go in long, especially because, you know, I am a little bit rangier, as Sharif was mentioning. I like to get long, or I like to get involved in trades where we had pops earlier, because that might be where we set up for a dip. It's just basically the idea of resistance and support on a more micro scale. And again, that's not always going to be perfect, but that was the ethos, that was the logic behind that trade. We'll see if that logic holds up, but that is the Tesla move. Also, some people mentioning morphosis, and I know Neil was making some great puns on that. It wants more upside earlier. Yeah, I mean, this actually looks a little bit bull flaggish to me. I don't want to diagnose a move before we have proof of that, but look at that big green move to the upside. Then we have some chop and churn. We have some consolidation. Should we break out of this? We've got 13, 16. That's about $3 a move from where we break out. Should we be believing the bear flag or the bull flag, sorry, or I guess all flags, the measuring system there. So yeah, I think that's an interesting look. Also, NVIDIA moving towards VWAP, but I'm going to be like MC Hammer and say, can't touch this because I should not be involved in shorting this name, I think, for the rest of the day. However, if it ends up being a dip buy opportunity and there is some confluence there, shout out as always to Obi, then I may have to dip my toe in. But you know what we're going to do is we're going to be trying to be a bit more cognizant and be making smarter choices, because it is a Monday and we need to, you know, caffeinate our trading brain, and that's what's going to happen. And I am not going to let myself don't be discouraged. Shout out to Cindy Lauper, and shout out to these NVIDIA question mark moves earlier by me today. Yeah.
Yeah, the Katina man just pointing this out to me, and I gotta agree with this. Meta is setting up for here what could be a disastrous flat bottom break, and by disastrous, we're talking about intraday disastrous. We're not talking about, you know, long term or anything like that. We all know what Meta did last week, so, you know, don't come at me in the chat for, you know, disparaging this name. I'm just talking about these lower highs and this obvious flat bottom over here. And what do we have? We have a downtrend that preceded it, right? And what do we know about descending wedges? They're continuation patterns. They continue the trend that preceded them. So this is setting up quite good. Crest, lower high, lower high, lower high, flat bottom, 460. I mean, it's very clear. Now, what's not clear is whether it breaks that 460. Right now, it's held up twice around that level. We just, and dare I say a third, but it was on a 1 minute candle that we held up again. So, you know, this one, it has ranges, like a 5 minute candle could have a range of $2. Okay, so you need to be cognizant of that. If you're going to get in short Meta, you have to realize that within 5 minutes it can pop up $2 and still come right back down into your level again. So that's got to factor into your risk assessment here and how you're going to manage this trade. So I'm not quick to jump into this flat bottom break here on Meta. And as you can see, if I had punched short 460 there, I'd be $1 out of the money because it's right back up at 461. But I do see these lower highs. I do see the 460 flat bottom on META. It's down 3%. It had a big down move off the bell to kind of support the thesis that we are headed to the downside here. We do see a descending wedge, which is a continuation pattern. So a lot of check marks beside Meta's name right now for me. Right now, it's just about how to time this so that you don't get, you don't get rinsed, because you can get rinsed easily on a $400 name and still have the right idea. Okay. So I'm gonna be patient with this one. There's any number of trades you could do here. You could look to get in a short on the 50. It had been rejecting the 50 quite well. I'm talking about the 50 period moving average on the 1 minute. It'd been rejecting it quite nicely. So you could look for that. You could look to short the pops. You could also look for a flat bottom break. So you put your short on the other side of 60, so on the high 59s, you could do that. Again, with that strategy, though, you're going to have to give a bit of a buffer between your triggering price and your limit price, because Meta, notoriously illiquid, not just in regular trading, but at key levels, okay? So you absolutely, your order can just get blown through and not triggered. It's completely possible. So keep your eye here on Meta. I do like how it's setting up 460. Possibly. We say that possibly because I definitely can't see the future, but I'm definitely going to have my eye on META, a flat bottom break. We'll see how that one materializes. I do have this natural aversion of taking one Mag 7 name long and the other short. And I know I shouldn't have that, but I've just seen these bad boys trend together for so long that it is kind of hard to wrap my mind around taking one long, one short. Sean does that. Neil does that all the time. You know, me, I'm not that good of a trader yet, so it's a bit harder for me to do that. But right now, Meta is setting up, you know, in the way that I would want to see if I was a bear, and then Apple is putting in higher lows at the same time with a possible 188 take. So maybe we can get on the side, one side of both. I mean, I personally don't care. It's just harder for me to execute. Keeping my eye on Meta, looking for a flat bottom break.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really interesting look. And I wonder, would you be more emboldened to do so if there's a really strong catalyst to the upside for one or a really strong catalyst to the downside for the other? Like, do you think it's just the fact that they generally both move at the NQ? Or do you think that you'd be like more okay with taking one short and one long if they had different catalysts differentiating?
Well, neither's really got a catalyst today.
That's right. I was just wondering if that could.
Yeah, I think I would. Yeah, definitely. Okay. If like say one was an earnings play or one was like there was a clear catalyst on that, I would feel a little bit better. But I got to tell you, I watched this for almost 3 years, 2.5 years, these Mag 7 names move together.
That's true.
Right? Like you nary did you have a day where one moved independently of the other. And now we're getting a lot of those days where they're not moving in tandem at all. It's been, I think, quite a while, maybe almost 6 months they've been moving independently. But for a while, Adara, they were moving in tandem a lot.
Yeah, that's true. And Tesla's getting divorced from its Mag 7 besties, possibly, so that could also be leading to some tension in the group. I am joking. I actually am in a Tesla long. I think I addressed it earlier, but I did add a little bit to this position. We did have that nice spike up, and then it kind of petered out. It kind of ebbed back a little bit, but I am trying to get part of this out of that 178.50, just kind of, again, watching the book, scalpulating, watching areas that were of interest for this guy on that little move up. So if we can get some out at 178.50, I'm interested. But like I said, pretty small position, even though we did piece into it, and we are trying to get everything out. Not even trying. There's no try. There's only do. Shout out to Yoda, and hopefully this trade's going to be green, like Yoda. But I want to get out before that 179.50 because that was an area we had some chop and churn, almost exactly coinciding with VWAP. So I do want to be cognizant of that, to use a word that we use quite a lot in the show.
Yeah, Neil just sending me this. With respect to DocuSign, guys, we just got a big drop on DocuSign, 6.75% to the downside. Neil sending me, Bain Capital and Hellman and Friedman have cooled in their pursuit of DocuSign. Acquisition talks have stalled, and you can see the price action there was floating above 57. That absolutely tanked down to 53. We've since bounced up. We're at 54 and change right now. The spread's about 10 pennies. Big move down for DocuSign here. The Cathie Wood name taking a bit of a punch on the chin, owing to some stalled talks there with respect to the acquisition. Keep your eye on DocuSign for even a bounce back up or a continuation down. Don't guess. Participate. Don't anticipate. Shout out to Greg.
Yeah, that's quite the move down there for DocuSign, especially off that nice little consolidation as well. So we have 2 super chats I want to chat about while Tesla continues to take that little Cybertruck, hopefully to the upside. We also did get a beak wetter there. But basically, first of all, Curtis the Conqueror, 199 super chat, first super chat in the live stream. Thank you very much to Curtis the Conqueror. Hopefully you're out here conquering the market today. We always appreciate the support. Also, Laura Rogers, 199 super chat. Thank you so much. Another big Rumble announcement end of month. A little pondering emoji. Yeah, I'm seeing right here for Rumble partnering with 1775 Coffee. I'm going to see if there's anything else on Rumble here. That was the main thing I'm seeing. But I know they like to tease out their announcements, which I think might be what you're referring to as well. Like they like to be like, oh, we're going to say this soon. We're going to announce this later. I'm not seeing anything. Pardon? Yeah.
TWAC?
Oh, no, Rumble.
Rumble. I'll have a look.
Thank you so much. Yeah, because I'm seeing the 7075 coffee thing, although I'm thinking it also could be that they're like teasing something else. Okay, so that's it. But yeah, I think let's look at the Rumble chart. Let's see what's rumbling over there. Hanging out at that very key $7 area. Oh, this is interesting. So we're up on the day. We do see slightly lower highs and lower lows. I pointed to the opposite, but we know what I mean. But I think this could be interesting because I think the extent of both of these moves up and then the extent of this move down makes me think this guy could maybe go either way. Although the lower low and the lower high is something worth noting. I kind of like the idea of shorting this off the 7 if we reject the 7. But also Rumble and DWAC, all those kind of ones that move in tandem do give me the heebie-jeebies just a skosh because they are very reactive and they do not care about your feelings even more so than the rest of your market. Like these ones do really do not care about your feelings. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on Rumble. I think I have more than what I mean, I'm joking that the Tesla trade is fine. But I think Tesla and then also NVIDIA, I'm trying to make the right life choices with NVIDIA. I missed the dip by a little bit. If we get another dip here, I might get involved in this. And then, you know, trying to stick to what I actually do well and not what I was doing earlier, which is just getting involved in whatever. I would be getting out when we make basically where the next high was, right? So just playing exactly where the range were, kind of similar to what I was doing with Tesla, just getting out where we saw around where we saw previous resistance. But yeah, just trying to again, like there, you know, the trend is your friend, and also your style of trading is your friend, and you trade that way for a reason. And I'm really trying to continue to remind myself of that. Cough, cough. NVIDIA earlier today. There we go. Just learning from mistakes. And that is that with that. But yeah, mainly just in the Cybertruck and looking at potentially getting back NVIDIA in along this time, Adara. Just telling myself that because those shorts were rough. Yeah.
There goes Apple again to the upside. Here we go, knocking on the door of 188. We just wet our beak on the break of 80 there. I'm talking about 187.80. So now we're looking for that move through the whole dollar level. We got it twice today already, though, guys. We have an obvious double top at that 188 and a third. Do we get a triple top off 188? I'll participate in that triple top because I'll hold it into that level, quite frankly. So wetting our beak through the break there, looking, though, for the next profit taker through the break of the mid-190s. AAPL, higher highs, higher lows on the day, but that double top at 188 and a third, definitely an eyesore for the bulls right now because it's a clear resistance level that we'll have to work through if we are to continue to the upside. So that is all I have to say about that. I'm just going to let Apple run and trigger profit takers if and when they do come into play. But the other one that I'm intently watching is Meta. I am very much, you know, I don't want to say I'm convinced that this is going to flat bottom break. Because look, I mean, if you are convinced that a stock that broke the record last week for the most market cap gain in one day is gonna be weak on the day, it's not the right thesis to have without strong supporting evidence. Okay. And so right now we're getting the hold of 460. So for whatever reason, there is a buyer hanging out at 460. And I don't want to underestimate the strength of that buyer because what I saw what happened last week, right? This thing got absolutely bought up the yin-yang. What's funny about Meta is it holds two records, two completely opposite records. The biggest loss of market cap in one day that goes back to its earnings in 2022, and the biggest market cap gain in one day, and that was last week. So, you know, it's okay, I guess, to have the record for the latter as opposed to the former, but yeah, I'd rather have just the latter. There goes Apple through 187, mid-90s. Now we are knocking on the door of 188, 187.96. I just got my profit taker filled there, hence why I got excited. So let's see if we can continue to hold, or continue through 188, and then if we're through it, can we actually hold it this time? This will be the third time we attempt to hold 188 on the day. We'll have to wait and see if it can happen the third time. Third time may be a charm right now for Apple, but it is still up in the air because we just touched 188 and then rejected off it again. So packing my patience with Apple, now up over 1% on the day. Shout out to Zach Griffith. Shout out, my man. And then we also have Laura Rogers. RUM needs to get above $10 to raise capital. I believe they will get it above 10 very soon, tagging myself and yourself there, Adara. Adara just finished talking about Rumble. We'll have a look at RUM is up 1.5% on the day. Obviously, this began running when the whole thing with DWAC and Funware started up again, which is likely due to the Republican primary that we're in the middle of at the moment. So we'll wait and see whether this one has more legs as more primary days come. And I know South Carolina is next, and after that, Super Tuesday. So lots of possible catalysts for Funware, for DWAC, for Rumble, for some of these other associated names. We'll have to wait and see. It just did shoot up into 710 and then rejected off that level, coming back down south of 7. So that nice V-shaped recovery there, it does double top, and it double tops Adara at the exact same level. $7.10 over here at 10:05 a.m. and then $7.10 over here again at 11:50 a.m. So an obvious double top. We need to hold above 7 if we're going to continue our ascent here on Rumble. You're not going to catch me trying to buy dips on this bad boy, but I will definitely have it on my side screen as it is now running. But down below 1% on the day, only 0.75%. Meta, keeping my eye on Meta, is starting to curl back up. It just put in a bit of a higher high there. And I'm comparing it to these two peaks, but definitely not above this one. So still below that 463 and a third. It's doing the dance here with 462. So it's $2 removed from that flat bottom break that we wanted to take. So Meta down 2 3/4%, but not giving up the ghost at 460. Definitely keeping my eyes on this, and I definitely won't be taking it off my screen. Just in time saying Rumble user growth is growing fast. Shout out to Canada, baby, because Rumble is a Canadian company. It is literally down the road from here. I know where the head office is. Shout out to them.
Yeah, we could literally go and say hi to Rumble. No, I'm joking. But also I think with Rumble, too, it's interesting, too. I remember this one did run at the same time as VWAP or DWAC and Fun. And it also had that catalyst with Dave Portnoy and Barstool Sports. So that was interesting, too. And then also Dave Portnoy having I believe, part shareholder of the company. So I think that's really interesting, too, the Dave Portnoy connection. I think in terms of building it up cannot really be understated, because that man has a lot of pull in the podcast world, for sure, including that really weird podcast where he talks to teenagers about internet drama. Well, they're not teenagers. They're like in their really early 20s.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I wanted to address that.
I got to agree with you on that. Yeah. It is a little
but I mean, you know what? Like people watch it. The point I'm trying to make is the man does have clout in the podcast world. So I don't think it's a bad move for Rumble at all. I would be cognizant, though, of what we do around that 7 area, just because it's been a key area earlier on the daily chart. Also, speaking of podcasts, give our podcast a watch, because I was watching that one this weekend. Sean and Brendan saying some really interesting points about AI and mentioning AI within the conference calls. And is that a good thing or a bad thing that we're mentioning AI so much in conference calls? They also go over all the earnings that we had in Meg Tech next week. So just a quick little podcast plug, because I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good listen. As Sean says, they're getting better every week, and I think it's really fun to take that journey. Also, Bob123, RSD 250. I do not know what currency that is.
I'll find out in 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. Also, I think this may be a super chat you were more apt to cover, because it is expecting NQ to get to 18K until the end of the day.
Serbian dinar.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Very cool. I think that's a new one. I don't personally remember ever getting a Serbian dinar super chat, but thank you very much for that. I do appreciate that.
You do.
Yes.
Yeah, he said expecting NQ to get to 18K until the end of the day. So I guess he wants to look at the NQ.
Holy
there.
cow. Well, yeah, we'll absolutely look at the NQ. You don't have to invite me twice to look at the future, but...
I figured this would be more your bag.
Yeah, but I don't know how I feel about 18K, though, Adara, like at the end of the day. Yeah, because right now, guys, we're flirting with 17.6.5. We're on our way into 2/3. We talked about this VWAP level being the first area of resistance that I'm going to be looking at here on the NQ. We're right there right now. Do we break through it, and do we hold above it? So that's the first question. Second question, if we continue above, do we get above 17.7? We know we had 17.7 as a bit of a bottom earlier before the bell. It held up at 17.7, then we tanked at the bell there. So that's the second level of resistance. And then the third is going to be the overnight close, 17.7 and a third. If we continue above 17.7, I'm going to be looking at this level, this horizontal white line. Always chart my closing print on my chart. Do we get above there? So many different levels that we got to clear for resistance for us to touch 18. Look, man, some people were laughing at analysts when they said a 5,000 touch on the S&P last year. There's a dude who came on this morning on Squawk Box, still holding to his 3750 level on the S&P. We're about to touch 5,000, my man. Get with it, right? So I'm not trying to put your suggestion that we'll touch 18,000 on the NQ like it's crazy. No, it's absolutely not crazy. We could definitely see 18,000. I just don't think we see it today. Maybe by the end of the week, maybe by the end of next week. But we do have my man Neil ready, who is ready with The Real Deal with Neil. Take it away.
Let's get started again. It's The Real Deal. We're going to talk about earnings today, but not necessarily what you do on earnings. What do you do after earnings? Everyone always wants to get in and look at that crazy volatile day. You'll see those crazy wicks when a company reports, like Meta might be up 20%, or you'll get other names that are down 10%, and you think, oh goodness, that kind of velocity and volatility is a one-day sort of thing. Now, yes, the initial reaction to earnings is typically going to be the biggest move, but sometimes the easier or better setups in terms of finding a trade can be after earnings because of the information you get on the price action. That is the key. So what exactly are we talking about here? Generally speaking, about like what is that week after earnings going to be able to tell you, and how can you look to profit from it? So I'm going to give you a couple of examples along the way. First, get an idea of what an earnings move is going to look like, because I'll give you two, one bad, one good, and we'll end with the good one because it's just more fun to do that. Intel, when they reported, squashed. It was in the $50 range. You pretty much ended up testing 43, was double digits to the downside. The guidance was what everyone was talking about. But since then, you have had an actionable trade as it's bad and then trended lower. And we're going to get into how you can look for some strategies after that 2 or 3 days on Intel. And then I'll give you another one we're going to allude to here. Obviously, you've got Meta making that ridiculous move. Well, what do you do? What do you look for as it's starting to settle down? So why do we care about a couple of days after, a week after, for things to settle? Part of that is you're always going to have a lot of big bets made around earnings and a lot of big money reacting to new price action after earnings. So you'll have hedge trades unwinding, people that may have made options bets. You'll have a lot of covering going through. You'll have big money positioning and reacting to those earnings. And all of that you want to settle down and give you additional information so that you can go back as a short-term trader and start finding those key price levels. Now, the most obvious example of this, no questions asked, is going to be when something reports and then stays within the same range, right? So it's going to be very, very obvious to see this. You're not going to have to worry about new price action. And the example I want to give is going to be Apple here. So Apple, despite what anybody wants to tell you, despite what was actually a pretty decent quarter, ended up flushing to the downside. But if you've been watching this stock going into the earnings, you've always had this resistance in front of 200, and you had a 180 bottom which held like gangbusters. I mean, it bounced off 180, made the 10% jaunt up to 200, and then all you did is backtrace it. Now, what do we see happen the day after earnings? Sometimes it's not that complicated. It tries to trade in a new range, fails to break underneath despite there being a negative initial reaction to earnings, tries to trade lower underneath that 180, but the buyers step back in again like they did previously. So what that, I think, tells me is a lot of the big money is saying, okay, not a lot has changed here. It might have been a negative reaction, but the actual buy the dip mentality at 180 that was there before is there again. So how do you want to play that? Well, you want to look for additional strength to just do what it did in the past. Now, if it's going to bounce off that 180 and go higher, the first thing you want to see, hold higher lows and trend back up. So you're not expecting in a case like this, if you think that 180 is good, getting in at 180. Like, why would you, if it gets back to that price? I mean, no, you don't want that. You want it bouncing higher, hold the higher low, which is exactly what Apple ends up doing here for the continuation play. It holds 185 on the reaction. It holds 186 on the morning the next day. And this is in the face of a weak market. As I'm talking about this is 1.2% to the upside into a red NASDAQ and a red ES. So it's showing you that relative strength. It's showing you that higher low because nothing has changed. 180 is still good, and therefore the stairs still lead to the upside. But that's not how it's always going to be. Sometimes dog is a dog. And when there's a negative reaction to a stock, you want it to be one way, it's the other way. Just like Marlowe said in The Wire. And I can want, or anybody that owns Intel can want it to go up, but this had a negative reaction to the downside, and it did everything it could. It held 43, which was the earnings bottom. It held it the first day. It tried to hold the second day. Does it hold? Nope. Doesn't hold that bottom. Closes on the low again on the third day. It tries to break up on the fourth day, and it cannot stop making lower tops even when it had a strong day. So it tried to settle down. You do not find a defined bottom anywhere alongside this. There's a chance it just did it here, but once you see that the first couple of days and closing on the lows, you start thinking short pops into resistance. It tried to hold the earnings bottom. Tried, failed, tried, failed. So you want to look to join that short-term trend by shorting the pops in Intel, which has been good as long as you are patient with it. It's not screaming to the downside. It is gently, nicely, and calmly falling whenever it catches a bit of a bid, which requires a little bit of patience, but that wasn't necessarily obvious until about that third day when it eventually failed that initial low on earnings. So Apple, first reaction when it tested previous support which was to hold it immediately, then it stair-stepped to the upside. Intel was immediately challenging the bottoms. In that case, you just look for the gentle trend. It's not falling all over itself, so you want to short highs instead of bottom breaks in that situation. Cannot say that enough. In a gentle trend to the downside, you want to be shorting off of resistance levels and pops. If something's going gently down and you keep trying to hit the low of the day, well, it's not moving enough when it's making those fresh lows. Maybe you get something at the open, but the better play is to wait for the pops and then short the pops in front of resistance levels. Be very, very patient about it. Now, what do you do as something is going? I'll give you Meta. Meta is a great example of it still hasn't figured itself out. Now, the bigger the move, the more difficult it might be for the stock to calm itself down and figure things out a little bit. There's no better example of that than Meta. Meta was 20-something% to the upside. It continued to go higher even after gapping up. It then holds like $450 and then goes all the way to $485, and this was underneath $400. So you have no levels in sight. You've got no reference in sight. It's a blue sky setup, and it requires a lot of patience because it's easy enough to say, oh yeah, well it failed underneath its previous close, let's just look for the short. Yeah, you can do that, and there's going to be other trade setups that are out there, like when you find exhaustion in the middle of the day, or you can find VWAP holds, those kinds of things. But when it comes to establishing a big level where you can work off of it for a couple of days, or maybe a couple of weeks and months, which is what Apple gave you, Intel gave you a clear trend, this hasn't set that up yet. But it does give you a few reference points, frames of reference that I think we can start to look at. One is obvious. That's going to be where it bounced on earnings, 452, which I think you work off the 450, so it might establish that as support. And the other one's a little bit hidden. There was price acceleration as it broke through 465. But this is where I'm going to start watching a very specific range in Meta. Acceleration after earnings, 465. Today, when it fails the previous close, where's the resistance on, and as it holds the bottom? Right back there at 465. So the breakout price on Friday in reaction to earnings has turned into today's resistance. Suddenly, you've got yourself a workable range with Meta. You got 450 at the bottom. You got 465 up here. So I look to that range to give me a reason to either start working longs or working shorts. The longer 465 holds, if it holds that and puts in a lower low this afternoon, a lower low tomorrow, then I'm thinking shorts back into 450. If today that move already exhausts into 450 and bounces, then we've got ourselves a bit of a double bottom, and you can start to even look for some longs off the 450 level. Inside, I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole. It's a volatile name. Just because it's only like 2 or 3% here doesn't mean it can't move more than that. So you're still waiting for this to calm itself down a little bit and give you some better opportunities in terms of levels like the Apple one. And I can't say enough about that. Like the levels on Apple, that 180, it was clear right away, and it gives you an opportunity to start looking for some longs. Now, we got to talk about Tesla. here for a split second. And let's ignore for a second 175 at the bottom. Yes, it's a good trade, but I want to talk about Tesla in the other way. Because anyone that knows that the trend has been to the downside on Tesla. And a lot of the EV names have been exactly this way. And I'm not just talking about 2024. This was in a downward trend for the greater part of the second half of 2023. You can see a clear downward trend. When they reported, it wasn't well received at all. You had a gap, you had a big move to the downside, and then another gap down. What at least had happened immediately was it did what Apple did. It held a key 180 level. And then you got a nice bounce back in almost exactly what Apple did. Held 180 into 195. Now, there is a difference between this getting back to 180 and what happened to Apple. Now, Apple established the 180 level previous to earnings and bounced immediately off that level. Tesla did precisely the same thing, but the upward trend, because they reported earlier, had exhausted itself. On a retest, the trend just continued to go back through. And that is the big difference here. Apple got to 195, went back into 180 and held it. When it broke the 180 to the downside, I didn't short it. I know I should have shorted it. I slapped a fail on myself for not shorting it. If the previous trend holds, and you get right back and show no defense of that 180 level, you got to look for the reversal trade. Why? Because when a big level was established on earnings and the trend is in the other direction, well, you better darn believe when it breaks, it's going to be a wild one. And you can see that with the explosive price action. Now, this plays both ways. It's actually exploding on the way back up as we speak. But that 180 level was great when it broke if you were trading to the short side. So when you look at Apple, if Apple doesn't get past 200 again, and then we retest that 180, it's a great level, but when you test it the next time after earnings, you can't just assume it's going to hold. It's a good short-term trade when you establish a level post-earnings, but it doesn't mean it's going to hold forever. Tesla is a great example of that. Now, there is a distinction between Tesla and Apple in that Apple was in an upward trend for the last year. Tesla, the last 8 months, was in a downward trend, which is exactly why you got to look for that breakdown at 180. Allow a stock to calm down. Even if it does 10, 20% on earnings, you can capture 1% moves like Intel's been giving you. You can capture 1%, 2% moves like what Apple has been giving you post-earnings. Allow it to establish a level. Meta hasn't done that yet. Apple did. Intel did. Tesla did. The trend is your friend, and when big levels emerge, then as a trader, you can start to go in there with a little bit more confidence. And anybody that saw Apple at 180 knows exactly what I'm talking about from Friday. So post-earnings trading isn't just about hammering it the next day and getting big winners. It's about establishing key levels that you can then patiently work off of for the next few days and weeks. That's the real deal. It's post-earnings trading, because there is always something that you can be looking for that will advance your trading strategy. And it's not just about getting the big, exciting on the day of earnings. A lot of times, it's that 2, 3, 4-day rule and when things settle down that you can take advantage of. Just look at Tesla go. That's the real deal. It's post-earnings trading, everybody.
Thank you very much, Neil. Insightful and informative as always. Thanks for pointing that out. And as Neil was just mentioning, Tesla is at a critical level, guys. Former area of support. We saw what 180 did last week. It was an obvious level of support. Does it act now as a level of resistance since we've broken below it to the south side and now looking to climb back up? I'm not going to be jumping into this one. I'd rather it give up the ghost at 180 and then me participate for less money later. Now, let's tell you about this Apple long here, because we did touch that 188.50 or just thereabouts. High of day now on the day on Apple, 188.49. It is finding resistance at that $0.50 level. And it is an interesting area for us to stop out at because, well, earlier it was that 188.40 and change. That was the top. And then below that, after that, sorry, we made that 188.36 touch. But look at this teal here, teal dotted line. Trusted teal, baby. Shout out to Max. This line is the pivot. This is resistance level 1 on pivots. So if you like your pivots, well, you should definitely be interested in this 188.50 because that's where resistance level 1 on pivots is, and it looks like we are stopping out right now, stopping our ascent, that is, on Apple for the moment and coming back down into that whole dollar level at 188. Should we continue to move down and break the whole dollar level at 188, I will be looking at 187 3/4 as a possible area to add. And the reason is I like that level is because we crested out there. So this could be an area of support, previously resistance, that we could possibly wet our beak at for some more sizeage there. The other level to keep your eye on is going to be that 187. Currently, it's 187.15, 16, something like that. That is where VWAP is here on AAPL. If we continue to break and we break that 187.75, I'll be looking at 187.25-ish possibly here. But that's all predicated on Apple breaking and giving up the ghost at the whole dollar, 188. That's what I'll be looking at. I hate to belabor this point, but I am looking at Meta short. So Meta already rejected VWAP earlier on, about 10:30, 10:25, 10:30. We had a curl back up into VWAP near that 465 area, just a smidge below 465, and we rejected with the swiftness, as Adair likes to say, and we're curling our way right back into that level again. This time, though, VWAP is at 464, not 465, but it is as important of a level. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on a possible VWAP projection here on META as it ranges between that 460. We know that for sure that's a flat bottom. 460.03, technically the low of the day, and VWAP, which it's been ranging in between the majority of the morning. So Meta, Apple, that's going to be my focus going into the afternoon, unless and until something, something else catches my attention. I guess that's not really a high standard there, but that's neither here nor there. All right, let's get back to work. I don't know where these screens go, man. I have no idea where they go, Dara. Like, I put them and then they're
It's
gone.
hard to organize them all, yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you touch one thing wrong, the screens are like, really?
Here it is, I found it. Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Today we are talking about earnings, guys. So we're going to be talking about earnings trades all week. Today we're just giving you some of the basic stuff you need to have in order to be ready for an earnings trade. First on the list, the date and time. When is the company reporting and at what time is it reporting? That's kind of like the most rudimentary stuff that you can have. Let's use McDonald's and Caterpillar and the stuff that reported this morning as examples. This website here is called marketchameleon.com. We're not sponsored by them, and they are a free website. So all the information that I'm looking at right now, that you're looking at right now, I'm logged into my account, but it's a free account, and all the information here is provided to these free accounts. So the first piece of information I want to have, number one, is when is Caterpillar reporting? So obviously I see that here on the February 5th, and you can keep going down in different days to see what's reporting. I just don't have to look at today. I can look at tomorrow as well, but you've got to be logged in to look at all the days except for today. So you can look at today's earnings without a free account, but in order to get all the subsequent days, you have to be logged in, all right? So let's move back into today. Right away, I know Caterpillar is reporting February 5th. So I'm on guard February 5th. And then I want to know the time. Now, Market Chameleon doesn't always give you the time. In fact, most of the time, it doesn't give it to you. So I have to use a different website. And that website goes by the name of Earnings Whispers. Again, not sponsored by the site. And again, it is free to use. And look at this. So when I see Caterpillar over here, I have that 6:30 a.m. time slot right below the name. For McDonald's, by extension of that example, 7 a.m. On Semi was at 8 a.m. So why do I want to know all the times? Because I need to be ready in case something, goes south. If I'm holding this for a swing, for example, today I had to get up super early for Caterpillar in case it tanked, and I'd have my stop loss ready to wet my beak on some profits, so I wouldn't let that bad boy go too far south without me at least getting a little bit out. So these are the two websites that I use to secure date and time for the respective earnings play. Now, The other thing you need to be aware of are what are the analyst expectations for that particular name. Now, you're not going to put too much stock into what one analyst thinks. You have to take an average. And that's what Refinitiv does. That's what are they called? They used to be called what?
LSEG?
Yeah, LSEG, London Stock Exchange Group or whatever. They bought Refinitiv, and what they do is they survey, say 40, 50 analysts. They say, okay, what's the price target that you're looking for? What are your earnings expectations that you're looking for? And then they basically average that out and take the mean, okay? So you need to know what is the analyst expecting with respect to the quarter that's gone by, so Q4 2023, what are they expecting for that? And also, what are they expecting with respect to guidance for Q1 2024? Those are the two data points you're going to need from the analyst, because you beat or miss on your previous earnings, and then you either guide above or below expectations. So you need to have those two data points ready to know what the standard is for the company that you're waiting to release earnings. So that's what the analyst expectations is. And you can find that by doing research on, my platform here will show me. I can't show it to you because we're not sponsored by them, and they need to ante up. But, they'll give me an example, tell me out of 50 analysts that we surveyed, 35 have a buy, 10 hold, and 5 sell. I'm just giving you any random example. And out of the 50 analysts that we surveyed, 35 are expecting to beat the current quarter, and only 25 are expecting to guide above expectations. So you need to be aware of all this stuff, okay? Where you get that information is gonna be a little bit different. I pay for the data on my platform over here. All right, so then the third thing that you need to have a good handle on is what the expected move is, right? And you can find that free with earnings, with Market Chameleon, under the earnings header. So you go over here, and then you click calendar, you go earnings, and then it'll pop up what you're seeing right here, okay? And so the previous move, it'll show you Caterpillar last time around tanked 6.7% from the previous close to the close of the earnings. So it would be compared to Friday's close and then the close today. So that's where the 6.7% to the downside comes from. But right next to that is the expected move this time around. And the expected move this time around is based upon the options volume. So they do an analysis to see how many calls are being bought, how many puts are being bought, and then they basically guide what the expected move is. All right? So you need to have an understanding of what the stock is anticipated to move on that particular day, so you can it can inform where you're looking to take profits or where you're looking to stop out. All right, so that is another very important data point that you need to have. And last but certainly not least, the other variable here for volatility is what time the earnings call is going to be on. And you can get that data point as well off Market Chameleon under the conference call heading. And so, for example, by way of example, Caterpillar's earnings call was the same time as McDonald's today. They were both at 8:30. And the reason that's important is because there can be new information passed on to analysts and other interested individuals that wasn't passed off or given during the earnings release of 6:30 a.m. Sometimes it's guidance, sometimes they add color, and they talk about possible new business ventures that they're looking to get into, partnerships that they're making, etc. So you need to be cognizant of when the earnings call is, because it can bring in some unexpected volatility. Those are the data points that you need to have. And then once you have all that, we'll talk about some earnings trades that you can do, whether options based or otherwise. By example, tomorrow we'll be talking about the straddle or strangle option strategy for earnings plays. So something we don't ever do here is trade options, and something that I'll just tell you flat out, I don't have a lot of experience with is options, but we'll tell you a little bit about this trade for those who are interested in such a Dara.
Yeah, I think, like I was saying earlier, I think it's really interesting to understand the extent to which options can influence earnings, specifically to the degree that there is actually an option section on that earnings whisper. We'll go over this when I go over the lesson as well at 1, because I think, at least tomorrow morning, maybe we can use her as an example. And I think we can, and I probably will. But so basically, yeah, I think it's interesting to think about there's so many different facets to the earnings call. Also, one thing I want to talk about too that I think is interesting is you don't always, it's kind of nice to have a little overview of what the report was, especially, even before we have the call, because sometimes things aren't always going to react the way you think they will. So Qualcomm definitely gapped down after its earnings. I'm going to see if I can find the daily on this. The report was generally positive. Also, Qualcomm actually looks nice on the day. Oh my gosh, I pulled this up as an example, but I actually kind of like the 5-minute on this. But that's neither here nor there, Adara. Be patient. Show that daily chart first.
You saw that, Neil.
Why I pulled this up was because I wanted to kind of show we did trade. It was an interesting look for this one on earnings, which did come out. This Wednesday. So we ended up green on the day, but why I think this whole move was interesting with Qualcomm is this one did trade a little bit lower, but why it's interesting is because, we can see where we gap down actually here. There we go. But yeah, this one's interesting because the report was generally good. Guidance was generally good, but their Internet of Things went down 32% year over year. So it's interesting how really small aspects of the report can sometimes impact. You don't always know what's going to impact, but that was just because I was looking through the report. I was like, what could have potentially made this move, right? So I think sometimes scouring the report and kind of understand what is the market reacting to, and then what might we react to later, right? Because sometimes things have initially good reactions or bad reactions because they were reacting to one aspect of the earnings, but not all of their earnings. Lululemon's earnings in December are another interesting example of this. And then initially, I believe we gapped down. Then we ended up having that massive move on Lululemon actually during the day because the market was then reacting to different aspects of their call. So I think that's one thing I think that's really important. Also, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I don't think I asked this earlier.
Go for it.
But do you find trading the NQ is different when you have big earnings moves, such as last week we had the Meta earnings, we had Meta, Apple, and Amazon all in the same day.
Okay.
Do you ever find that the extra volatility from earnings impacts the way you trade like futures?
Oh, no question about it. Yeah, of course. I mean, you could make the argument that Nvidia, had a way of holding up a lot of the market last week. I mean, it was just utterly strong while the bigger names were weak, right? No, so absolutely, couldn't agree more with that. I mean, is it the tail that's wagging the dog or the dog that's wagging the tail? It's like a question for our time. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Yes, I do. I definitely keep an eye on the future when we do have big earnings day. No question about it. Thank you for that question, Adara. Speaking of the futures, though, Adara, we talked about that resistance level possibly coming in here at VWAP. What resistance at VWAP? That's what the NQ has to say to me there. 17.6 2/3 meant bupkis. On the day right now. It goes through VWAP like nobody's business, and we are possibly here on our way up to do that 17.7 touch. We're close. We got up into 17.6 high 80s, and we're putting a bit of a red candle at the moment now. So let's see if we can make our way up into 17.7, and if we do, what happens there? Do we find resistance, or do we march our way on into Greensville today? Greensville has to take us through 17.7 1/3. So we'll have to wait and see what we get there. But the futures, it's been up into the dang right since essentially 10:45 this morning. More higher highs coming into play. So a couple of things here. Still printing on Apple. This other trade, though, that I've been salivating over, this Meta short. Yeah, that got a little graphic, sorry. 464 short here on META. No, wasn't in the chat, Neil. I'm looking for a VWAP touch possibly here on Meta to take Meta short. The initial look here was for that flat bottom break to come in at 460, but we're like $3 removed off that level at the moment. So I'm looking for a pop-up into a key resistance level to take Meta short, but I'm gonna have to pack my patience because it hasn't made its way quite up there yet. And you're not gonna catch me getting short at VWAP on the first touch. No, I'm gonna have to wait for it to actually curl down and reject, or get it on the back end, as my friend Neil likes to say, right? Wait for it to prove to you that this is a key resistance level. I'm not going to make it up any higher, and here I go. I'm going to start curling back down. I'd rather miss some of the move than get it right than try to anticipate and get it wrong. So that will be my look there. But the one that we haven't talked about is this Amazonian trade here, Adara. And it looked awfully close to Meta. Look at that big move down, and then that sideways move, and then it did the dance with VWAP. But this one, unlike Meta, found a lot of strength about 10 minutes before noon. 11:50, this one started pumping up here through that 168.75, and now we just broke through 170. So we're coming into pivots here. That's the green dotted line on my chart. on Amazon. It's still down 1% on the day. It had a big week last week owing to its stellar earnings, but giving up a little bit today, but looking a lot more bullish than Meta, despite the fact that their charts looked awfully similar to start the day. Amazon getting a lot of buying, breaking through that $10 level right now through 170. We'll have to see how far it makes its way up. High a day is 170.55 on the dot. Good look for the Amazonian there. There goes Apple, and now we get the print, Adara, at the 188.55, $2.25 in the money. Pumped about this trade here on Apple. I'm buying Apple on any dips. I'm talking about my long-term account from here on forward.
So happy for you on that, Felicitation. No Isaac Newton gravity Apple falling situation here. No Apple only to the upside. Weird science joke, I guess. Also, yeah, this Meta short I also find interesting. I've been trying to play it a bit of a different way because you and I were talking off camera. I do think Meta's a short. However, I see ranges and I go,
You love that.
Yeah, I do love that. And I think, like I said, trying to play to your strength. My strength is not going to be this breakdown trade. Where I'm going to be more comfortable is ranging the heck out of this until we get that breakdown. Basically, what I did was I took it from that 463, just below 463. When I got a better cost basis, I saw we held. I added a little bit to the position. And then every time we dip down, you take like 50 cents. So it was just like bloop, 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 letting it like kind of ping pong here. If I see it, like we haven't had a little bit of trouble getting back down, but I want to get back involved in this short if we get back to that 463 and hold.
The Chilean Nightmare says you could be a mountain climber because you're scaling so many ranges. Yeah, the Chilean
I like
Nightmare
that.
is
Thank you
killing
very
it on
much,
the list.
Fabian, killing it alone today.
Yes, by the way,
shout out to Fabian.
Ram is sick, so the Chilean Nightmare on the ones and twos alone today, and you wouldn't be able to really tell the difference, quite frankly. Usually we have to kind of let you know the Chilean Nightmare has got to do everything on his own. No, it doesn't really feel that way right now. No glitz or no issues so far. Here we go again on Apple, baby. We're sitting at 188.69. What's up? Say again? Don't jinx it, he said. He said, don't jinx it. He doesn't want me to mention that because then other screw-ups are going to start. Yeah, I feel the same way as you, Fabian. I try to hide anytime anything is successful, but yeah, quite frankly. But yeah, guys, we're talking about this 188.69 here, beak wetter on AAPL, technically high a day, 188.65. We're going to look to take some profit at that level. We'll see if we get the print. Here comes 67s, about 2 pennies away from getting printed here on Apple. We'll have to pack our patience to see what we get. There we go. And there we go, Adara. Again, we get that break of 70. So now we're printing on this one. Many more else, believe it or not. We're still holding on AAPL. Bob123 says Apple going to 191. Hey, man, I think we get an Apple break of 200 in the next 3 months or so. We'll have to wait. Maybe we don't get the Apple break until the Apple 200 break until June. Don't forget that Tim Cook teased on the call last week that he will have AI announcements this year. He didn't say when and he didn't say what, but a lot of people anticipating that it likely will be the Apple Developer Conference in June. We'll have to pack our patience and see whether we get anything around then or not. Adara, we did talk about that 180 level on TSLA.
Oh, yeah, we broke it.
And we did break it. We're about $1 above it right now, Adara. So I'm pleased as punch I didn't put the short at that level because I'd be $1 out of the money. Here we go here on Tesla, breaking through VWAP and coming into that whole dollar level at 181. We are still very red though on Tesla. 7 3/4 in the red. Where could we find resistance, if any? Well, we broke through all the pivots this morning. We held up at 175.01 exactly. So anybody sitting at the 175 level there, you're absolutely printing your $5+ in the money. Maybe even almost 6 if we break through this 181. If we're to continue up, we've broken through VWAP. We've broken through support level 2. So we're looking at support level 1 over here on pivots, which takes us to 182 and 2/3. We'll have to see whether that level ends up being anything or it's a nothing burger. To go even or break even on the day, pardon me, we'll have to get into that 188 area. That's $8 some odd from here. So we'll have to wait and see whether we can get back up there. The high of day today, right after the bell, the high after the bell is at 184 and 2/3. So many different levels off which we could look for resistance here on Apple. Let's go back. Sorry, Tesla. Let's go back to Apple because I'm seeing it is at high of days. Oh, baby. Could we see 189, 188.85? Adair, we're long 186.29. Please just punch.
Congrats to you. That is a wonderful move. You should be pleased as punch, a nice little Apple punch. Maybe we're going to raise the roof there, do the shimmy wick dance. But yeah, congrats on that. NVIDIA, I did get it in this long. I know I said I wasn't going to short this again, but I didn't say I wouldn't long it again. And I did like this hold of that 698.50. I'm just trying to take 50 cents of this, basically. We are slightly below the 90 MA, so I'm a skosh nervous here. But if we can get 50 cents in the scalp, then hold a tiny piece for the dream. It's a very small dream. But if that dream can get us to around 691, I would be also pleased as punch. And then we would both be pleased as punch here on the How to Trade desk, which would always be lovely. We got our little beak wetter here. So while NVIDIA cooks, or I guess, does some memory processing. I can't think of an apt pun. Let's look at Willis Addison. Thank you so much for the super chat. $2 super chat. Hashtag grateful. We like hashtags up in here. Coin, swing, puts, netted me 550% plus. Oh my gosh. And then a little down chart emoji, and then a 117 emoji, or that was just 117, and the little money bag emoji. Congrats to you, Willis Addison. This is it's a really nice look. And coin, coin falling with a swiftness to the downside. Also, I brought this story up during that segment, the crypto update this morning. There's a really interesting case coming out of the UK where this guy, Craig Wright, is getting sued by the COPA, which I guess is this crypto this crypto group that's against patents in cryptocurrency, and the members include Block and Coinbase. And basically they're suing this guy because he's claiming to be the dude who invented Bitcoin.
Oh, wow.
And they're trying to see if there's actually evidence for that, because they don't really want anyone to be putting patents on cryptocurrencies,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
So I think that's been a really interesting, it's not actually related to the stock. I don't think that's what's moving the stock, but I find court stuff interesting. I know you also, it's
100% I find that
so I think that's pretty cool. And that's why I brought that up.
So
with
he's
the
trying
crypto.
to say it's not that Satoshi guy?
Well, he's saying he is Satoshi, is what he's saying.
Oh. What is he saying?
Yeah,
oh,
that's
so
what
he's
saying,
claiming to be the actual individual.
Yeah, because he's a computer scientist coming out of Australia, so he has a computer background. Yeah, I just thought it was an interesting look. But yeah, congrats to you, Willis Addison. This is a great look. Congrats on 550% plus. I mean, yeah, keep those money bag emojis coming. That's a fabulous look here. Also, yeah, I think it's Bears versus Bulls saying I thought it was Elon myself. LOL, yeah, that's pretty funny. Also, I will pull up, I actually didn't address the end of this Tesla. I didn't address at the end of my Tesla trade. I did in the chat, but I just want to bring it up here quickly too. I did take my beak order at that 178.50. Thank you very much. And then I took the rest out. Like I said, I was really cognizant what we were going to do around this area around VWAP, so I got out right before we hit VWAP. We did continue to go up, but I'm not going to cry over spilt Cybertrucks. I couldn't find a way to end that. But
Can
yeah,
I tell you something what I saw this weekend?
What?
Okay. I saw a video of someone else taking a video of like a person driving the Cybertruck. Can you guess what they were doing while they were driving the Cybertruck?
I want to know. What were they doing?
Look, it's nothing bad.
No, I'm just curious.
Right, I wouldn't say it on the show.
No, of course. I was just like, it's probably something weird.
It's something that I've been talking a lot about lately. What have I been yapping a lot about other than Caterpillar today? Forget about that.
Apple?
Yes.
Vision Pro.
The dude was driving the Cybertruck while wearing the Vision Pro. Come on, bro. Like, I get it. You're a tech guy. But like, just, take it easy a little bit.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the thing is, the whole point. Show it, Fabian. Okay. This isn't the one, because this is a Model Y or a 3, you can tell, right? But based on the interior. But yeah, and there's a police guy that's gonna stop him. Yeah, I mean, like, come on, bro.
It's your two most recent tech passions, the Cybertruck and the Vision Pro, coming together in a beautiful and maybe viral union. I like that.
I think so, yeah.
Happy you got to see that.
Can you imagine? It'd be ridiculous. Anyway, guys, we are moving up on Apple here, man. Here we go. We just wet our beak again through the break of the mid-90s, and we are on our way to 199 on AAPL, up 1 2/3. Gotta stop wetting my beak here because we're running out of beak wetters. We're gonna have to, save them for more key levels. Maybe that 190 level comes into play today, and if it does, I want to have something to participate in that. Some size here showing up at the hold dollar level to be expected at 189. So let's see if we can break through the whole dollar level here without rejecting big to the downside. So let's watch now as this comes a lot closer to that whole dollar level. But Apple awfully strong. Here we go again, 98s. I don't have any more profit takers here because It's not like it's a blue sky setup or anything, but we want to see what we get on the day on Apple. So I don't want to be guessing levels. Are we above? Are we printing above? We're printing midpoints here. Now we're printing 99s. I'm looking for, okay, we're printing 01s. Can I see 02s? I feel like the auctioneer and me coming out. Again, we're definitely having trouble clearing 189. There we go. Now we clear it with a couple of pennies. Do we hold above it? Lots of strength on here on Apple. Let's hold this possibly into 189. We just blew through 17.7 on the futures up into, I think, 17.720. So that level ends up getting taken on the future, and that's helping propel Apple to the high side here. Apple's chart looks the most bullish right now of the Mag 7 names up and to the right, Adara.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, congrats to you on that. That's a fabulous look. Also, I do have a little question.
Go.
So I know I asked earlier, like when I first started, how do you choose the beak winners? But I guess, is there a certain way, depending on the trade, especially if you're going to average in or not, you choose how many you want to spread across the little pond?
I'd like to tell you that I have a systematic system, but I'd be bold-faced lying to you if I said that to you.
Okay, so it depends.
But you've heard me say I'm going to de-risk most of the position in front of a key support level.
That makes
so I do that. But with respect to the random beak winners, they're more random.
I like
That's
that.
the
Yeah,
truth.
like if it catches steam, then we. So it's a little bit like scalpulation, I guess.
A little bit, yeah. You de-risk on your way up, but if there's a key level that you're looking at, like if 190 came in on Apple, I'd be getting out of the majority of the position and letting a piece run for the dream. Because it's a $10 level, it's a whole dollar level. Who knows what happens there, right? So.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah. Also, so we got out of this NVIDIA long. Like I said, I was basically the NVIDIA shorts earlier were something. That's all I'm going to say in them because I don't want to dwell in the past. I want to dwell on the future and not repeating mistakes. And so I got into this long because I liked how we held that 689 and some change. That's the right number in NVIDIA. And one in front of NVIDIA would be like a shocker. But yeah, 689 here on NVIDIA. We held it pretty well. Basically, I noticed we had a lot of resistance at 690, so I just kind of took the pieces out, the beak winners, if you will, along the way here. Initially, the plan was to try to take this up to that 691 resistance. We never got there, so I said, you know what? We shall scalpulate out. We got it out at 690. So that is the deal here with NVIDIA. Also, Meta was like, oh, you guys are talking about a short? Never mind. But you're right. It is rejecting at VWAP in a way that is interesting. I will say I'm happy because I was going to get back in this range, and I'm happy I decided not to because it looked like we kind of broke up a little bit here. But you're right, like the fact that we're rejecting at VWAP, we're still down on the day. I don't think. I want to see what we do back at that because you were talking about that 463 level. I do think that with that area I was trading around, I think that 463 is really key because look at all that consolidation. I think what we do at 463, and we're kind of coming back into it, could be very much of interest there. So yeah, I wish I wasn't just looking at Mag 7 stuff. So I want to talk about Lily because I always have my eye on Lily. There's a lot of volatility in this one earlier today. We might have some more of that tomorrow with earnings. But yeah, I mean, I tried to short this one off VWAP. I could not get in. Like I put a point of entry, and then I went to get water, came back, and we were like way below. So I was like, a little bit sad. But you know what? I mean, I think we were curling back up. We kind of went back down. I don't want to get involved in this until she knows what she wants to be when she grows up, especially with the fact that we're up 4+% on the day and we're in earnings, coming into earnings. However, that VWAP short would have been really nice. And one area I'd like to talk about with regards to Mademoiselle is, I drew it pretty poorly, but this little cup, this little bottom around 695. Look where we had that wick up to earlier in the pre. Or right at open, actually, even more significant, 695. Nice. Oh. Then we come back to that 695 and we hold. Also, I'm on the 3-minute. I want to switch to a 5-minute. Here we go, 5-minute. But yeah, the level, I mean, the level's still the same, right? I think the level's even clearer on the 5-minute. So I do like Lily 695, whatever she does around there, I shall be keeping an eye on it. Also, again, like I've lately, because I've been looking more at the IWM, in addition to all the small caps, when I do small cap recap, I've been really watching IWM more just as something to trade. I haven't had any trades on it yet today, but I think this bounce off VWAP has been really nice. We're coming into that area that we had a little bit of consolidation from once we opened earlier, so I want to watch what we do here. But again, this isn't really rangy enough for me. I learned that the hard way, cough, cough, the NVIDIA shorts, that I should not be doing anything that's not really in my wheelhouse that's ranging. Like, I mean, with the NVIDIA long, I did have, A, we were up on the day, Adara, come on. But B, we did have that, you know, that area that we were a little bit interesting around earlier. Also, NVIDIA above 691. Congrats to anybody in this NVIDIA long. If you are NVIDIA, you win NVIDIA. If you're in a long. And so congrats to you. Really nice look here. I'm really cognizant of NVIDIA around this 691 and some change, because look where we kind of topped out twice. And then also, of course, as we get into 694, that's going to be interesting. Do we see 7 Nvidia? Do we see it? I think we could see 700 Nvidia very soon.
It's just pumping up here, there. I want to mention this real quick here. Benton's letting me know about Paramount popping up aggressively there and then coming right back down. It's trading at 14, rocketed up into 14 a third. Now it just shot right back down, still down 2%. And then Short Smeller letting me know that Byron Allen actually has begun the talks. Now, we heard last week that media mogul Byron Allen was shifting his focus away from Disney, which he was rumored to be in talks with last year, and now he's focusing on a different legacy media outlet, Paramount. And so Bloomberg reporting just now, that's just coming in, that the talks are advancing. So we've got a perfunctory pop there. You don't know if it was algo-based or whatever it was. It looks more like algo-based, but keep your eye on Paramount. It could possibly pop up again. Still down, though, 1.87% on the day to go green. It's got to take that $14.43 area. It's not doing much, guys. I mean, the volume just dropped right back down again. So we'll have to wait and see what we get. Just want to let you guys know about Paramount doing that pop. The Chilean Nightmare's got an Apple meme. I need to see this. Oh, yeah. I saw this with Kramer, too. There's one, like, where the Seinfeld, like, where he pretends to get a call from Newman telepathically, so they just, like, superimposed the Vision Pro on his eyes, and he's, like, trying to pass the call off to Jerry, and Jerry's like, no, I'm not here, I'm not here. It was hilarious. I'm sorry. But, yeah, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of these, you know, Apple memes wearing the Vision Pro and stuff like that. Keeping an eye on Meta at this 464, guys, no question about it. I'm looking for a possible VWAP rejection. But if Meta wants to participate in this up move that we're getting today on the future, then we're going to have to put the kibosh on the short. We'll have to trade what's in front of us, but we're definitely doing the dance here at 464 at VWAP on META. And Apple just printed a new high of day. We didn't wet our beak on this new high of day. 189.22. I will not be taking out any more on Apple. I have 4 more outs on this bad boy, and I want to get them a little bit higher. It is now coming back down into 189. We'll have to see whether we can hold at the whole dollar level and possibly make it into that $10 level. If we get a 190 touch today, I'll be pleased. I'll be very pleased. We'll see what we get on AAPL. Looking at the future, we definitely broke that 17.7, and then I saw a lot of people yelling in the chat, we're overextended on the future. Maybe you're right. Maybe we are. Right, but we'll have to trade what's in front of us. And if the market wants to remain over exuberant and continue to print all-time highs, then that's exactly what it's going to do. And we'll have to continue to trade that. We don't trade what we want. We trade what's in front of us. Anyway, trying to hold 17.7 right now, getting me awfully enticed into the, you know, analyzing whether we're doing the Wick shimmy dance, thank you. It is a Monday. On the future, keeping my eye on 17.7 to see if we give up the ghost here at that level. And looking for the next trade. As Obi likes to say, what's the next trade?
Yeah, I think that's certainly a really helpful. I legitimately do believe, like, you know, Obi's always dropping lots of wisdom, and always in a really, like, I think, way that's easy to understand and very fun and punchy. And I think that what's the next trade has been really helpful for me, especially if you have sometimes rougher trades. You just have to brush that dirt off your shoulders. Shout out to Jay-Z. That beat is still iconic. And then you just have to keep going and find a new trade. And so I did actually get involved in a new trade here in this Eli Lilly. I was talking about this as a short, but then I did like this kind of push to the upside. I think the 3-minute on my side chart shows a little bit better. If I zoom in here, you can see we do have higher highs, higher lows. I am only taking this to VWAP. So this would be about a dollar simulator winner. Should we get this? Like I said, just trying to be scalpy. You're looking at key levels. That VWAP drop was swift, and so I do not want to be involved with it beyond that point, but I do like the idea as we approach that 700 that this could be of interest. The thing with Eli Lilly, it's always a little bit risky too to get filled sometimes because of the spread on this guy, but I think I have it put just below 700, so I think that could be an interesting look there. I'm going to keep my eye on the book because that accidentally rhymed, because that's something you do have to do when you are in, especially these spreadier names. Just keep it, you know, give the book a nice look here. But also, I have to talk about NVIDIA again too, because that's one I still have on my radar as a long. Adara, do not go short NVIDIA again. I just pulled up Meta. clearly Meta still in my mind. But yeah, NVIDIA still kind of topping and churning here, but generally higher lows, higher highs. If we make a nice move here around that 690, because that 690 to 692 is kind of a nice look. I could get involved in this if we hold above 690, but I really would like some evidence of that first. Also, we're getting a meme here from Ramin.
I think it's the Chilean nightmare.
Is it?
Because it's logged in on the Ram's
okay.
thing. Yeah, you can go ahead because I pulled it up on my phone. So.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm just trying to pull this up.
This is so accurate, Fabian. So accurate. Show.
Here we go. So I'm just pulling it up in a new window. Technology.
Yeah. It feels like that. It's like you're going to keep waiting, you know? Yeah. Look, I'm one of the first people that's guilty of this, but humans have this sick compulsion to try to get everything on sale. And I think, we're all waiting for that NVIDIA pullback. You may not get it. You may not get it. It may continue to go. And, I heard a lot of people were making comments about NVIDIA being overpriced earlier in the year and to look for some other trades like Broadcom, AVGO, AMD, whatever. Now we're hearing from analysts that AMD is underpriced, that we're likely going to continue to run, that we're probably going to see a split later in the year so they can entice retail back in the name, because retail, they want to see a lower price stock. Doesn't really matter to big money. So I couldn't agree more with that meme, man. It's NVIDIA continuing to pump here, and it's just a matter of time when we see 700. All right, we're still involved in this Apple trade, baby. I'm going to be looking to wet my beak at the $half level here. So if we make it up into that 189.50-ish area, we'll look to take profits right there. But we're really looking for that eventual move, possibly into 190 on the day, and then expecting, likely to hold up at that 190. That's if we make it up there. We got to hold 189 first. So far, doing a decent job of that. We're going to set up a profit taker just below that $half if we're to make it up there. Good move here on AAPL. And then, it does look like I missed a little bit of this trade. This is what happens when you talk too much. At 464 here on META, it did dip down to 462.5, and it may be coming down as we drop below 17.7 right now in the future. It's great when those two coincide, when you get the break below 17.7 on the future and a nice move down on Meta. Only thing is, though, I'm not convinced that we're going to give up the ghost here right now at 17.7. I'm going to need to see more because we're below it by a few points, but we could easily reclaim 17.7. So we'll have to wait and see. Interesting area on the futures. Nice move down on Meta. I would have definitely wish I had participated in that. That was a mistake, but whatever. Meta down 2.5%, heading back down, Adira.
Yeah, if Meta comes back into that range, I will probably, as I really enjoyed Fabian's little analogy there, continue to scale that like a mountain range, should we come back into that range. Also, the spread in Eli Lilly had me tripping over here. I thought we had our beak wetter, or I guess that would be the whole position because I wanted to get everything out here. We were 3 pennies away from the fill on one side, and that's what happens with these spreadier little stocks. We are out of Eli Lilly, au revoir, mademoiselle. Pretty happy with this trade. Just again, looking at areas, like to me, I just wanted to go long VWAP, looking at areas, kind of seeing what the pattern is, and just trying to trust our instincts a little bit more in a stock that I'm pretty comfortable in, nice. Or at least what I talk about a lot. So yeah, thank you, I appreciate that. Also, IWM following a little bit here off of that kind of key area, pre-market, the area I was talking about. I wish I had been more on this one, I have to say, because I could have gotten that short down. But if we, if we have a little bit of recovery, I'll go either way in this. I just want to see what we do at VWAP. I've noticed IWM and VWAP have a very peculiar relationship. Look at that move up earlier, and then we break above. Even last week, I was just kind of going long this thing off of VWAP. So I think, I mean, obviously not everything is going to hold the same way every day, but I think if you notice certain patterns, I think sometimes those patterns are worth keeping an eye on. Also, NVIDIA falling a little bit here. I'm happy I did not get involved, or wasn't too hasty about my involvement. NVIDIA and that 690 area, because we did fall below it. There was something someone was saying here in the chat. Lolo saying VWAP or 685 for NVIDIA to go along, in my opinion. I think like NVIDIA VWAP has been interesting. We kind of had that chop and turn earlier today that I got swept up in. Also, I think, yeah, like I don't know, 685 I think is an interesting area. And I think it almost coincides with VWAP exactly. That's where we had that nice little bounce off, and then it was open season for the NVIDIA long here. Worded that a little poorly, but yeah, I think it's a good look there for NVIDIA. Also, Meta hanging out by that 463. So Meta, if you're gonna keep ranging around here, just let me know. Give me a call, or shoot me an Instagram DM, and I will, or a Facebook message.
Without looking.
And I will get involved.
Without looking. What percentage is SMCI up on the day, Adara?
Can I make an educated guess?
Yes.
11 1/5.
You're very close.
What is it?
11.88%. SMCI is almost up 130% on the year, Adara.
Oh my
and we're a month and 5 days into the year. This thing is just nuts, man. SMCI is the gift that just keeps on giving. It's, again, very tough to trade because super spready, very volatile. But if the swing trade extraordinaire, SMCI, wow. 10 million shares, about 9.75 million shares traded on the day. It's headed up. It's on its way to 650. It's at 647 3/4. So the name is just awfully strong. Like Adara said, almost 12% up on the day, 10% since the open. So it was running from before the bell even rung. I'm talking about without showing it, and I do apologize about that. SMCI, let's pull it up over here, NASDAQ name. Here comes 650. And there goes 650.
Ooh.
I can't believe this thing, man. This thing is a rocket ship. There goes 650. Here comes 651. We just popped into 653 now as the high of day on SMCI. Unreal. What's the spread like? The spread's almost $1, though. That's the thing. 48 on the ask. It was 75 on the bid. So it's literally 75 pennies there between the bid and the ask. And that's what I'm talking about being tough to trade. It's just really spready. But if you're a swing trader, you're not really caring too much about that, right? Rejecting 650 for now, coming back down here on SMCI, but just an awfully strong name. Yeah, to keep your eye on, whether for a swing or what have you. If you're going to day trade this, really, please be careful. Make sure that you're sizing in accordingly, you know your levels, and you're using stops. And if you're using stops, I'm going to mention this again, make sure you're either using a market order to get out or you have a huge spread between your triggering price and your limit price, because you could absolutely just get blown through given the lack of liquidity on this one, okay? And so that's the comment there. It's back above 650, looking to knock on the door of 651 again. So that dip below 650, we'll have to wait and see whether that can hold up. The future is now below 17.7. It's not tanking below 17.7, but it's incrementally making its way down. It's still in the mid-90s. That's why I'm not 100% convinced that we're really going to start retracing off that 17.7 rejection. I need to see a little bit more. Usually we get that decided move down, or at least, you know, with one big red candle. Right now we see 4 small red candles. I don't know. I'm just making an educated observation here. We'll have to wait and see what we get on the future. But yeah, below 17.7 right now. Let's see if we can continue to make our way back down. Any questions or anything that you guys are looking at in the chat? I see NVIDIA just popped off VWAP. So whoever was telling you that, Adara, mentioning that 685 there on NVIDIA was a good level. Look at this candle. It dips right into 685 and then moves up $3.25 in a second. This is one 5-minute candle, by the way, guys, and it's almost 40. If you had a dip trade sitting around that 685 and change, you're printing now, because right back up NVIDIA goes, possibly into 689. So much strength on this name, I can't even, I'm no longer surprised by the strength on this name. But yeah, great trade there.
Crazy move there. Yeah, shout out to Lolo, who called that one in the chat. Yeah, boom, NVIDIA 685 filled. You called it. That was a heck of a bounce there. If you got that long, congrats to you. That's fabulous. I guess filled. So I guess there. Congratulations. I think that's a really nice look there. Here, Palantir. Also, some people pulling this up. TT777. Palantir earnings today after hour. This is going to be a nice transition to our talk on earnings today, which we're probably going to get to in a couple minutes. But for now, let me look at this beautiful Palantir chart. I mean, I don't know. I said beautiful. It's a nice look. This one's interesting because we were up on the day. Then we kind of fell with a swiftness right around open here off that 1765 area. We fell down pretty viciously. Then we kind of curled back up around the 16.7, come back to that 1685, fall back down. Then we come back into that 1670-ish area yet again. So that could be an interesting area for Palantir. I want to look at the daily chart before we head into earnings so we get kind of a sense of this and what price areas could be key here. Let me zoom out. Yeah, so I mean, I think Palantir definitely up. Like it's definitely been lower. I will say that for Palantir. I will say as well, areas I find interesting as a base, this 14 area, June 2023. We touched it twice, August 2023, again in September, and then we make a slightly higher low November, right before that November to remember. Nice big move to the upside. So I think the worst case scenario, I think that 14 base could be interesting. I think also in terms of like more local bases, that 16 area kind of interesting, an area that we were kind of jumping around. And then we also, I would be paying attention to that 1650 area on the daily, because that was where we had a little bit of that rejection earlier. So I think that would be certainly also, at least from my chart, from my reading, an area I would be watching for Palantir. But generally, we have been a little bit rangy starting late December 2023. And by that, I mean, we'll have that 18 to just above 16 kind of move, right? I am not the Palantir master. I know Sean trades this name a lot. His insights will definitely be better than mine, but I think that would be the area I'd be watching, just kind of this 16, 18 break out of that range, and then watching that 14 for a potential support area just because of how strong that support was earlier. Yeah, also, yes, we did get out of Lily. Happy I got out of Lily where I did, because she fell with the swiftness after that point. I got out here, I had my little B quitter ready to go right below VWAP, and then she fell back down. So I want to see again what we do with that 695. I don't want to get back involved in this until I see what we do at 695, because that 695 curl up was pretty impressive, and I don't want to miss it. If we do it again, I want to be there for it. If we break below it, I want to be there. I want to be there to short it. So that's what we will be doing. Either way, I'd like to get involved in this, but I do not want to be hasty about that involvement. Also, shout out to Sharif, because Meta, bye-bye Meta a little bit. She fell below that. She's getting into 462. There's still a shot because she rejected off 462 a little bit. So that 462.50 area could be interesting, but I just wanted to let you know that that is occurring with Meta. I think you definitely called this one being a short. You just had to really pack your patience and your Samsonite for this one, because Meta was did not know what she wanted to be when she grew up. Let me tell you.
That's a good look right there, Adara. I'm sad I did not participate in that. Definitely should have been more alive to that 464 rejection, especially because it was coming right into VWAP on my level over here. VWAP on this chart and on my side chart, a little bit different. I put more stock into my side chart than I did on this one. That was probably a mistake, because this happened to be the exact VWAP level off which we rejected. And that 464 would have been a $2 winner right now, as we just did a 462 touch right now on META, down 2 2/3. So this one presenting you with an interesting opportunity. But look at this consolidation low that we have earlier. Do we find some support in and around this area? We consolidated for a while around here. We're below it right now with that 462 touch, but we're getting bought up immediately. So I'm really cognizant to see whether or not we trend right back up and start trending sideways like we did over here for the better part of 45 minutes, or are we going to give up the ghost at that level and start trending down and maybe do that 460 touch? Maybe we don't get a 460 flat bottom break today. We get it tomorrow. But, Meta obviously had one of the biggest days in history, the biggest day in history with respect to market cap addition last week. So, it stands to reason that we give up a little bit, at least today. But how much, we'll have to wait and see. So keeping my eye on the future, keeping my eye on Apple, keeping my eye on Meta. Those are the trades that I've been interested in today. Really haven't focused on anything else trading-wise except those three names, the Future, Meta, and Apple. Let's see what else everybody is talking about there. Okay, Charles. I'm not going to get into that, but that's funny. Let's see what else is being talked about over here. Yeah, not much from you guys in the chat today, which is all right. Let's see what we got on the small cap gappers. Are any of them making a move? We talked about some of them potentially being good candidates for VWAP hold high of daybreak. GUR continues to go. So GER's the real deal, looks like on the day. Definitely held one. So initially had trouble breaking through one, then look at this. Breaks through one, then holds one. Don't you just love to see that? I do. I love when resistance flips to support, especially intraday. It looks fantastic from a trading perspective. But yeah, definitely had trouble breaking through that $1 level. But once it broke it, it held it in spades and it gave you about 28 pennies to the north side off which you could profit. So obviously that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you take umpteen amount of shares, it ends up being a lot in a hurry. And look at this one, this 5-minute candle right now has done over 4 million shares. So the liquidity on GER, there's plenty of liquidity there. You can get in big with a lot of shares. The other one that I've been looking at, MOR, this one cleared VWAP by some distance, about like a $2 clearing there. It hasn't made its way quite back down to VWAP. This one doesn't look like it's going to materialize in a VWAP hold high of daybreak. It would have typically touched VWAP by now. That doesn't mean that it's not tradable, right? It might just be a completely different trade than a VWAP hold high of daybreak. So keeping my eye on MOR and then RVSN. I mean, this one, what can you say about RVSN? Let me show you the hourly, and then you can get an idea of what this thing's been doing lately. This thing's a rocket, right? I mean, this one did nothing prior to January 16th. It had been in that 1.25 sub $1 range, and now we're talking about this thing, you know, last week touching 23 bucks. Now it's having another decent day, coming back into 17 is the high there. You know, obviously stands to reason that we retrace a bit after that monster move up. Like, look, prior to the 16th, if we were to take, let's say, the low on the 10th and then project it up to the high that we got on the 30th, yeah, that's a 2,114% move. I mean, yeah, of course, we're going to retrace a little bit off it. Yeah, RVSN has been an absolute rocket. This had an amazing January. I believe it is, was it skin cancer or was it leukemia?
It was railways. Rail vision. Yeah, they had some European railway
stuff. That was
stuff.
very, very close, of course.
Sorry,
right?
I didn't mean to.
No, you gotta tell me the truth. If I'm out to lunch, I'm out to lunch. Tell me. I don't know why I thought this.
Well, I do but I do the small cap recap too, right? So I'm way more exposed to them. Like it's easy to understand, or I guess it's easy to think that literally a lot of these small caps are biotech, so that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know why I felt it was like that. People are yelling about DWAC. Let's have a look at okay, DWAC looking really good here. Really good. I love to see this chart where it just pops up, holds VWAP for the most part, and then, you know, bounces right back up. $46 high, $45.93. It is still spready, okay? So you can get cut up quite badly here, getting in, just getting out with small size. But it is putting a hell of a chart pattern in. $46 top, held that 43.25 quite well, but the majority of the closing prints were north of VWAP there, save and except for 2 5-minute candle, which were bought up immediately. So DWAC, yes, is a great look. Whoever mentioned that in the chat, keep your eye on this name. And I think this is going to be in play until the primaries are over. And I don't even know when the primaries are over, but you know, I think this is going to be a name that we can continually look at day in, day out, and it may present us with longs or shorts. Future above 17.7. I think we're past 1 o'clock. I don't know if you want to do the lesson. If you're free anyway. If you're not trading.
I'm good to go. I'm not in anything except trying to finagle my way into the Cybertruck. Which just as it was hard to see into the Cybertruck when you were there, it's really hard to get involved in Tesla right now. so nothing to talk about here. But Tesla coiling towards, or not, I guess not coiling, pushing towards 182. But I would love to start the lesson because this is what I'm super excited about. Let's talk about earnings. So the first thing we have to look at. Sorry, I'm really excited here, as you can tell. Date and time. Really important. So I do have, I have pulled up the earnings calendars and earnings whispers. I'm going to get there we go, earnings calendar. There we go. For both of these to kind of give you a sense. So here I have pulled up tomorrow before market open because I think, one example to look at for date and time and analyst expectations would maybe be Eli Lilly, perhaps, because this is one that I trade, and so I'm pretty interested in what this, and when I say trade, I mean I day trade it exclusively. But basically, so you can see here, you can organize it by time of day. So if you want to do like today after market close, you can do that as well. I really like how you organize this. And like I said, this is Market Chameleon. You can just get a free account. We are not sponsored by them. But yeah, I like using this one in tandem with the other site we're going to talk about in a minute to get a good sense of what's reporting when I do the earnings board, because this one I like because it'll organize by market cap. So it has this 110 0.8 billion at the top. Then we see Palantir, which is going to be one a lot of people are talking about, 36-point bill, so or 36.0 bill. So it's all organized by market cap here. It also tells you the previous move that each stock had. So Vertex down about 2% last time. Oh, nice move. Palantir up 17% last time. Go Palantir. Then it gives you the expected move. And if you see here, this is basically derived from the front month option expirations implied straddle value. So I guess that's something we'll be talking about tomorrow with straddle and strangle for options. But basically what I like here is they explain what it means. The value for the expected move will represent the expected move in either direction, up or down. So I think that's important. And I think you can tell too, there are some similarities to some extent between the previous move and that implied move. So for Palantir, previous move 17.2%, expected move about 15.5%, right? So a lot of these numbers seem like they do make sense. I do want to go back to tomorrow, though, if I may, because I want to look at Eli Lilly, an example of this, right? So, Sharif used his Caterpillar example or the McDonald's example. You could have different, if you want to look for specific earnings, you just need to know what to expect. So we do have for Eli Lilly that previous negative 2.1%. So we know, hey, last time we dipped on earnings. You know what I mean? This time the expected move is 6.2%, so a little bit higher than what we had last time. So definitely be wary if you're going to enter this. There could be a little volatility. And then also what I like too is it gives you options volume. So you can see comparatively how much options volume do you have. So if you're in this Lear tomorrow, LEA ticker, you might not have to worry about options too much because that options volume is going to be about 95. If you're in Eli Lilly, your options volume is 66,000. So that might be a little bit more risky, something a little bit you want to keep an eye on. So I think I like too that they have the options volume, especially because options do play a role in the expected move, as we just kind of talked about too. So I think that's really important. And then we have to know, of course, date and time. So we do know Eli Lilly reporting tomorrow, BMO, before market open, not Bank of Montreal for my Canadians out here. Also, I would like to look at earnings whisper. So tomorrow, you can see here I have the tomorrow one. And what I like about this, like I said, with earnings, with Market Chameleon, they have it organized by market cap. It's a little bit of combination for market cap and kind of how popular the name is and how tradable it is sometimes too with this earnings whisper. So Eli Lilly at the top for both, but Spotify making a nice little high appearance on this as well. So it can give you a sense, here was estimates here. So expected loss of 0.8 cents EPS and then 4.04 billion in revenue for Spotify expected. So just a different website. And like I said, I like to kind of cross-contaminate is not the right word, but cross-reference, that's the word I'm looking for both when I do the earnings board, because what names are people going to be looking at? And then in terms of market cap, what names might move the market? Because that market cap, like we said, like I was talking about with Caterpillar, not necessarily going to be a day trade in general, but we're going to see a little bit more volume on earnings day. So that's why it's nice to have a nice little tapestry of everything that's reporting. I use that word again, but I think it's still valid, instead of just having a couple names you're looking at. And then that, like we said, that kind of analyst expectations also I think important too, because different analysts are going to have different things they're keeping an eye on for different reasons. Also, I think it's interesting too, looking at, sometimes if you look at the last analyst note with regards to price target, that could also give you an eye on what the analyst might be expecting for earnings. So for example, I know Tesla just reported, so it's a little bit different, but Tesla getting that analyst note from Piper Sandler today, where they lowered their price target, they also lowered their delivery expectations. So I think, if you look at, hey, what are analysts saying? Why are they saying it? That can give you an eye for what to keep an eye on going into the earnings call. Another example, Apple, with Sharif is still, I believe, taking some bites out of Apple right now. But Apple was interesting too with regards to earnings. What a lot of people were watching, even though they did make revenue after 4 straight quarters without Apple trading lower off of that China news, because a lot of people were going to say, what's Apple doing in China? Especially when Min-Chi Kuo, that analyst, came out and said, hey, we don't really know what's going to happen with these Apple shipments. His supply chain surveys were making him a little nervous, and it turns out he had a right to be, because those Apple China sales were a bit lower than expected, and the stock fell most likely on that. So I think it's a really good, in regards to analyst expectations, what are people talking about and what areas of the report are maybe going to be paid more attention to than others? I think that's pretty key, and that's something I've really learned a lot as well, because even if we have a beat, the stock can still go down if there's a little elements that are amiss. Again, the Qualcomm Internet of Things dropping 32% in an otherwise pretty stellar report. That's another example, right? So or AMD, Lisa Su coming out in her black jacket and giving lower than, which I know Sharif is personally offended by. We're joking.
I'm kidding.
But he likes the Pepsi blue jackets that Lisa Su often rocks. But anyways, AMD and Lisa Su coming out there actually having lower than expected estimates or projections for the next quarter. That's the word I'm looking for, right? So even though they beat, I think they had in line and then a beat. Even though the report wasn't bad per se, it did move down because certain things were amiss. So really look at analyst expectations, look at specific areas that might be moving the market. Also, earnings call. Let's talk about that. Earnings call, last but not least, I'm going to use this example again. October 18th, 2023, doomsday for Tesla. When Elon Musk went in that call and he was a little bit dour. As Sharif said, he had not great things to say about, the future, what he was thinking going forward, especially because at that point, Cybertruck hadn't come out yet. There was a lot of anticipation around Cybertruck. So earnings call, both kind of see what the people are saying, right? What's the CFO saying? What's the CEO saying? Because you can get a nice little taste, I guess, or a sense of what may be coming forward for that company. But B, also, that could really move the market depending on what's being said in those earnings calls.
Can
Tesla
we show
after
them
hours.
where to get that? I know you had Market Chameleon open there. If you just bring it back down for
and you can get a sense of the time, too.
Yeah, so right there, you got the earnings call where it says conference call. It's the same thing. So you know exactly what time it's going to report. And see where the press release is? That comes in ex post facto. So that's not there before. That's why we're using earnings whispers, right? Because that press release time slot, we don't know exactly what time that's going to get released. But the conference call number is always there at Dara. So you can always tell that the release will always be before the conference call if you have any doubt or earnings whispers not working. Yeah, so thank you. You done?
Yeah, I guess the other thing, too, is sometimes you can see the time of the release on Earnings Whisper as well.
That's
which is, as you can see, just because I know you talked about that in case people came in late too. Palantir, 4:05 p.m. So you will be there with Sean, or the Katina Man, as Sharif often calls him, and Sticky Note Nation talking about that. Then Simon Property Group, which I don't know if that will be as high on anyone's radar, but that's also coming out at 4:05. So competing for some attention with Palantir. But yeah, I like so that you can kind of use a lot of different sizes, a lot of different analysts, and a lot of different resources to get the info you need before going into earnings. I sounded like a sportscaster there.
That's all good, yeah.
How's the MNQ trade going?
It's good. We already wet our beak here for some profits. We popped into the 20s, but then we found a bit of resistance there. So we're looking to see if we hold that 17.7 level. And this is what kind of really got me interested in this future trade, even though we're kind of doing the dance right now, is this doji candle over here. We dipped down and it got bought up immediately. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. At 17.7 level, we got bought up. We show aggressiveness. So I got long 17.08, already wet my beak there on the move up into the 20s. We'll have to see if we can hold 17.7 for now. I'm going to be watching this this trade intently because, well, I don't want to give up my profits that I made on AAPL on a boneheaded futures trade. So we're going to give this one a short leash through the break of 17.7. I'm going to be watching this quite intently. But look at this dip trade here on that. This thing dipped down into 460 and a third and got bought up immediately. But it is putting another lower candle here right now. But this, if you've been sitting at these levels waiting for that 460 on Meta, you absolutely got printed on this particular candle over here, and it shot up and it gave you $2 and change right there. In fact, you would have got $2.50 if you were sitting at the lows and got out the highs over here, which is obviously a tough thing to do in and of itself. But Meta presenting you with opportunities at that 460 level. Very much a range trade today on Meta between VWAP and that 460 level. It's been a recycled trade over and over. We didn't participate in any of these. And I feel awfully silly because of that, because, looking at it after the fact, it makes it look so straightforward, but it's not ever that way live in living color. So Meta getting that 460 bounce again on the day. Now, Microsoft put in a very similar candle, so this is a bit confusing here. This is probably the same buyer. Look at this candle. Now, it's not the same level on Softy, but it dipped from that 406, tanked all the way down into 404.5, and then got bought up immediately. What is up with this candle over here? Now we're putting in another lower high right now on MSFT. So we could be giving up the ghost here on the future. We're going to have to watch quite intently to see if we give up 17.7. If we do, I have no personal connection with this trade. I will exit and I'll leave it. I don't really care. Watching intently, though, to see if we give up the ghost at that level. While I talk about that, let me tell you about this, though. SMCI 661, Katina, man.
No.
It's insane. This stock is insane. On the dot, $661 on the dot right now is SMCI. I haven't seen another. I haven't seen a lower low on SMCI all day, saving except for this over here. Now, that was it. 1035 onwards, it's been a rocket ship to the high side. Sure, you got a couple of red candles here and there, but none of them have made a lower low. They've all been straddling that 10 EMA, which is the green line on my chart. Any dips into that level have all been bought up. It's that magnetic effect that the Obi, the Kenobi has been telling us about for some time, where the price seems to magnet right back into that level and then pop right back off. So great move today on SMCI. We'll have to see how much more it's got in the tank. 661 high.
Yeah, that's a crazy look. There's also a candle on Tesla that I will address in just a moment. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get filled in NVIDIA. So
What is that?
But yeah, that candle is something else.
that?
I can tell you the upside part of it was real. I was watching the upside part. The downside part, not sure, but this one was moving like crazy around that level. I was going to get involved in this long. Ended up being happy I didn't. Now I'm a little sad I didn't. So that candle, because we did have at one point, it was basically a doge, and with pretty strong wicks on both sides. I did not want to get involved because I was like, I feel like this could kind of reverse and go to the downside. I should have ended up getting into the long because once we took off that 182, Tesla was not looking back. You know, we were driving with that Cybertruck and that Vision Pro full steam ahead to the upside. But we are in an area that I think could have a Scotia resistance. Let me draw it. I didn't draw it very well, but that was an area we kind of dipped up into, that 182.60. Then that's when our downward spiral really gets kicking in, and we are getting very close to that area. So I don't want to get involved in a short when Tesla has such a nice strong move into the upside. However, if Tesla tells me to, if Tesla's like, hey, Adara, this looks like a good short, I'm going to have to get short, but I'm definitely just keeping an eye on that 182.60 rejection. And mind you, we did kind of reject that area with the viciousness. So I want to see what we do at 182. If we hold 182, I think it would still be a long because we would still be having higher highs, higher lows. If we don't hold 182, and as we speak, we're kind of falling below 182, Adara, you might have to short this and just take profit out around areas of earlier support. I'm short 182 right now. Okay, thank you.
Katina is short 182 right now on Tesla.
I think I'm going to get short Tesla. But
I'm also short 175.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you just let him know his positions because they follow along. 175 short AMD Katina Man. 97 short Disney Katina Man. Sorry, Adair.
Yes, okay, no worries. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I was just going to pull up AMD because I think AMD, 175 VWAP, like Obi was saying, and the magnets, we had magnetism at that level. Pretty powerful look here. Fell to the downside. I think that's certainly interesting. We're kind of dancing, trying to break below that 9 EMA, which is certainly an area we've been threading that needle throughout the day. This could actually be interesting range-wise. I might have to keep an eye on AMD. But also, what was doing something kind of similar earlier?
What?
Was Caterpillar. Caterpillar just bouncing off that 9 EMA like without a care in the world.
322?
Yeah.
All right.
She's just
retraced a little bit. Off
just
the
kind of
highs.
chilling to the upside. I don't know what caterpillars do. Do they squirm? I don't know. But it's moving to the upside. And I do, if we bounce off VWAP again, I might have to get involved in this as a long, or sorry, not VWAP, 9 EMA. Not a short. I do not want to short the Caterpillar. But the spread of this is not bad. The spread of this is 3 cents. If I can handle Lilly spreads, I can handle Caterpillar. I can dance with the very hungry Caterpillar, I think. Also, Eli Lilly breaking back above VWAP, up above 5%. What a nice look here for Miss Lilly. I'm not getting back involved in this right now. Like I said, I really wanted to see what we did at 695, but Lilly was like, yeah, too bad. I have 7, and we're not going back to 695 again. So nice look there for Miss Lilly. I really missed my opportunity on the Tesla short. I should have just punched into that. But if we come back to that 182 and reject, I am going to get involved because, whoo boy, what a look. What a look here on Tesla. Meta flying down here.
Oh, wow.
Down back into 461. Meta, what are you going to do at 460?
Dang. Katina Man's hitting that dollar club, baby. Meta? No, not Meta. Tesla. Oh, he still has the same Meta short that he had earlier today. So if you're following along, he's still holding that. Short 182 TSLA, short 91. Disney?
97?
96, 95.
Almost $1 in the money.
Almost $1 on the money on AM. Does he short 175? Now it's the 174.10. So look, guys, we're holding this futures trade, and now we're below 17.7. So this is critical moments here. I don't want it to retrace too much. If it breaks below 90, that's it. I'm going to cut it. It'll be an 18-point loser, but we already de-risked 1/5 of the position over here as we did pop up. I'm looking for, like, we're doing the dance at 17.7. So I don't want to say because we've broken below it by 2 points that we're going to give up 17.7. So this is what I'm keeping my eye on critically. And it's a bit of a balancing act here about how much we're going to give it to the downside. Now, if I was to look at the technical levels of where I need to give this to create a newer low, it's got to be that 17,680. But I'm not going to give it to that because that's just too far low. And now it is in the 8s, and I'm going to cut it here. So we give back a little bit there on the future and give away some of our Apple profits there. But, you know, it's just the way it is. That's the way trading is like. So we give up the ghost at that level. Hit it. Who's that? Oh, the Bears are here, Katina, man, because we're right back down into 460 on META. Oh, my goodness. Right back down we go, down 3%. We could get that flat bottom break that we've been yapping all morning about on Meta here. It was a hell of a VWAP rejection. We didn't take it. This was the trade I should have been in, and I yapped about it and didn't take it. Now we have another opportunity if we flat bottom break at 460. We're going to be watching this one quite intently at these levels. We'll have to see what we get there. Darwin says the Cocaine Bear prequel. Did you see that, your little animation there? Because of the bear? You're the only one. No.
This is the Cocaine Bear.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the Cocaine
He
Bear.
ran.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. He's you're the only one that watched Cocaine Bear, I think, out of all of us, too. Did you watch Cocaine Bear, Chilean Nightmare? No, he didn't. You did? Did you watch it?
I want to, but I haven't.
Neil, you didn't watch it. I know you watched Oppenheimer, and I don't think Brendo watched it either. So the Katina man is the only one that's watched Cocaine Bear. Reverse cup on Meta, says Bob123. Let's have a look. Reverse cup and handle on Meta. Look, to me, it's not that. To me, this is setting up for a possible flat bottom break with, it's a bit of a range. Look, this might not even flat bottom break. What it ended up being is a $4 range, right? Between VWAP and that 460 level. That's kind of what I see Meta at the day. So, you know, range traders would have absolutely been thriving in this atmosphere because they had to find levels off which to work. You know, for a fact that 460 was holding up, and you know, for a fact that was rejecting off VWAP, it gave you that to you twice. The only reason we didn't get involved because we're not good traders. I'm talking about myself, I'm not a good trader. So yeah, definitely should have gotten in at that 464 VWAP rejection on META like we were talking about. Didn't participate in it, so we'll have to take that L, quite frankly. But it's been a great look here for the shorts on Meta, yeah, and I don't really understand all these weird candles that are coming in on here on Microsoft, Meta, and now Tesla. These hammer candles where it's moving down, it's being bought up immediately. Like, look at this one over here on Tesla, and then here's the one on Softy, this candle over here, and here's the one on Meta. Like, very, very weird. Meta continued to trend down off that candle, but these candles all coming in near the same time, and they were all very low dips and immediately bought up with very very long bottoming tails. Kind of a little bit confusing there. We'll see what we get with these names the rest of the day, but yeah, lots of downside volatility right now. The future below 17.7, a bit of a double top right now at 17.720 on the future. Keep your eye on that.
Yeah, there's so much bamboozlement here, and these Mag 7 names especially. And I do understand with Meta, this one was a hard one to get involved with because it was so indecisive.
Right.
Like, she did not know what she wanted to do. I was happy to get like the range move earlier, but then she was like, actually, you know what, I want to test VWAP, and then she rejected. So I do totally get like that one. The entry on that was certainly a little bit étrange, très étrange. This one was a bit strange, moving in different ways here. And yeah, I mean, congrats to that Apple trade, killing it still. Also, I did get involved in a Tesla short, and I got involved a little bit lower than I wanted to. The goal is to kind of build the position. If we hold up at certain levels, as long as we don't cross over this 182, I'm going to add, because I took a really small piece here. If we decisively break above that 182 with the viciousness, sayonara, au revoir, Bye. Shout out to NSYNC. But hopefully Tesla and I are in sync. That'd be really nice if I'm in sync with Tesla here. I might add some of this 180, 160 if we keep projecting, because I do like this idea. But really, again, I should have been more decisive. As Sean says, a scared trader is a deficient trader. And I really was a little bit too scared. I should have been entering right when I was noticing that 182, strong 182 rejection there on Tesla. But say la vie, all you can do is say, where's the next trade? Or in this case, how do I bamboozle my way back in a way that makes sense? And this way makes sense to me. We'll see if that ends up coming to fruition, though. But I agree with you. Like, these candles have been so hard to read today.
Right.
Also, I can't believe I neglected NVIDIA. These higher lows, and like, oh my gosh, Adira, I should have gotten in right at this dip at the 687 and then just gotten out at the 690. I missed it. We're about 689 right now. Again, if we have another dip here, that might be something worth getting involved in, but I do not want to force anything at this time because I have more than enough to handle with my Cybertruck / Tesla. Google coming back down below VWAP. Good times. Google coming back down below VWAP here with the viciousness actually here too. We came back above and then it said actually, nah, I don't want to go here. Let's look at Goog because I know Goog was moving in a slightly different way than Google. And now they look exactly the same, of course. They're twins.
Goog is up 1 1/4 and the Google is up 1. Didn't we see this variance the other day?
We
too?
did.
Yeah,
we
so
did.
that's the second day we're seeing this variance between the two Googs.
they're not. Yeah, they're a little googly eyed. They're going in different directions here. Yeah. It's certainly an interesting look. Also, one more too I want to look at. Palantir, someone, I think it was Thomas, saying cup and handle on Palantir. I did mention the rounded bottomishness on Palantir. Maybe it is more visible in a 3-minute. We'll see. It certainly looks a little reverse. It looks a little reversally. I will say that we are seeing a nice little rounded bottomness on that 16.5. I don't want to diagnose a pattern before it comes to fruition. However, if we have a nice break above that 16.8, holding that 16.5 bottom, I will say I think that will be a good look. But I don't want to like pre-diagnose anything until Palantir decides that it is a cup and handle. But yeah, certainly a nice look. I do think the slightly lower low on the 3-minute maybe is skosh concerning. But yeah, and we have it on the 5-minute. It's even more stark on the 5-minute, right? Like we had nice little move here, and then we made a lower low pretty significantly.
Rob, are we able to show her screen?
1665.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
No, that's mine. Adira's? Yeah, there we go.
I just saw a screen and thought it was mine. But yeah, I think that's 1665, slightly lower low, but again, kind of where we held a little bit support earlier. So that could be of interest. But yeah, I do not want to diagnose any patterns before they have fully materialized. Main emphasis just here in Tesla, we did add to that position around that 1860 area. First plan for profit taker, that 180.65-ish area. Like I said, basically just taking profit at previous areas of support because it's a little bit rangier and it's easier for me to do than just trying to be like, oh, the HODL, the hold on for dear life thing. That's a little bit scarier for someone who is scalpier. Also, one thing I want to say too, speaking of HODL, is I watched the Dumb Money movie this weekend. I was talking to Sharif about this. Fantastic film. I was thoroughly entertained and I learned a lot, and I think the performances were really good. And I was just thinking about that with the whole HODL thing. And it's interesting too to see how this all came about through the internet. And yeah, I mean,
what was your most surprising thing when you watched the movie?
Just the amount of short positions that they held. Like their GameStop was so short, and then also, you know, not to like spoil the movie, but there's a scene where they contrast how much Roy and Kitty is winning per day, and then how much Seth Rogen, who plays Gabe Plotkin, is losing per day. And she's like, the wife's like, how much did you lose? And he's like, insert really large number here, right? And it's like, I think it's really effectively done, and I think it makes you understand the craze of that movement from all the different sides. And I think, yeah, I would say I learned a lot. I would say from a filmmaking perspective, it's the same guy who did I, Tonya. So it's really incisive and also funny. And I think also from a knowledge perspective, I feel like I learned a lot, and I think they did a good job of telling the story. So that's my little talk there on HODL. And yeah, I mean, great film.
Did you take anything away from like market dynamics that really you reflected on, like this is unfair or this should be changed to make it a bit more fair? Anything like that with respect to how big money and retail money interact in the market?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Robinhood shenanigans with the fact that they were kind of talking to the guy who ran Citadel, Ken Griffin,
Right.
and then being like, hey, can we, stop trading? I think that kind of colluding that was alleged to have occurred I thought that was really interesting. That wasn't something I was aware of, so that was a cool thing I learned about. And then the fact that also they have like a little sort of where were they now is not really doing it justice, but they have a section like that at the end. And then Robinhood apparently having one of the worst IPOs for a company of its size and being down at the time the movie was released 90%. From its earlier levels. Ooh. So yeah, I think it put Robinhood into a really different perspective for me because I wasn't really aware of their involvement in those shenanigans. But yeah, I mean, I think certainly another thing I learned as well was just the fact that now apparently companies or like firms will hire people to look into short floats.
Yes.
Or not just short floats, but look into what are retail traders talking about, because now they do not underestimate the retail traders anymore. So I thought
won't do
that was a really cool underdog story, and again, very entertainingly told.
Yeah, and it's funny like how retail can organize using the internet to kind of, hurt big money. The other thing that happened this weekend here, if we can show this, Rob, maybe we can tag Neil in it too, because this was a scoreline, baby. He's shaking his head. This was the scoreline. This was a heavyweight battle on the weekend in the Prem. So this was the second time these two teams met in the Prem this year. They beat us when we played them in the FA Cup. We tied them away, and now we beat them at home. So now there is a 2-point difference now between Liverpool and Arsenal at the top of the table. City plays today at 3 p.m. They have 2 games in hand on both Arsenal and Liverpool. So City still have the opportunity to go first, top of the table, if they win both those outstanding games. But let me tell you, Arsenal looked awfully good yesterday after looking quite bad, but it's been a good 2024 this year for Arsenal. And the goal that Liverpool scored yesterday, you can see it's an own goal here. It should have been a clean sheet for my man there, David Raya, but that's all right. That's all right. They can score one goal, one measly goal. Arsenal taking the cake, baby. And into second we go, because look, our Aston Villa won 5-0 against Brentford, or what was it? I think it was Sheffield, actually, the other day. So they're hot on Arsenal's tail, 3 points behind, and that goal differential got absolutely buffered with that 5-0 win against Sheffield on the weekend. So Villa definitely not out of that race yet. So great win for Arsenal on the weekend, and we'll have to see what we get. I believe we play again, next week. We play next week, and then the Champions League is in 2 weeks after that. So Champions League coming back end of February for Arsenal. We play Porto away in the round of 16. That's the first time Arsenal's been in the Champions League since 2016. So pleased as punch about that. I'm also pleased as punch about this Apple trade. And back up we go again, Adara, above 189 or thereabouts. We came right back in to, believe it or not, support level on the pivot. Sorry, resistance levels on the pivots. So the pivots have been, believe it or not, they've been working out again. The closing print has been working out again as a good support level. Look at that move down into that 189, 185, 84. And that was the Friday closing print. We bounced off that very, very decisively. The two double tops over here were a smidge below that 188.50. That is resistance level 1 on pivots, and then we cleared it. We cleared it with some vigor. We got into that 189.25, and then look where we came right back down into pivots, right into the support level 1 or resistance level 1, pardon me, on pivots, holding that now. Let's see if we can curl our way back above 189 and make a possible 190 touch. That would be just kind of like the cherry on top of the sundae. I don't know, the cake.
On the Monday, cherry on top of the Monday.
This is why you're a lot better than me at this. You're good with that. Your mind works like that. Yeah, we'll see what we get if we get a cherry on top of the Monday. on AAPL, we're looking to curl back up. The other thing I'm looking at is the future here. We've been straddling 17.7 from the downside. I did lose a little bit of money on this futures move down. I didn't want to give it to VWAP. I did give it to the bottom of this low over here, this trough that we made on this 1 5-minute candle at 1 o'clock. Didn't hold up. We moved into 17.7 and we rejected. So it's starting to look like we may retrace off these levels. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see what we get on the future. We're still down a 0.25% on the day. We were joking about actually going back to break even earlier at 17,733 because we were like below 17.6 at that time, right? But look how far we've gotten on the future. Future has actually retraced quite aggressively. A bit of a double top here, putting in, I don't know if that's going to be the end of the ascent here on the NQ vis-a-vis this double top. We'll have to see what the afternoon brings, but good look there. The other look, again, sorry to keep mentioning the same stuff, is Meta. I'm looking for that 460 decisive break. We haven't gotten it on the day. There have been buyers in and around that level. The other one that we were talking about was Gorilla. This one continues to hover above VWAP. It definitely is holding $1. Awfully good look for this name. But you're gonna, looks like more of a range trade here, even though there is a bit of an upper inclination, a bit of an upward channel here. So look maybe to get something on the dip rather than trying to get a breakout, because the breakouts here don't look like they've worked, especially north of that $1. So look for a support level if you're interested if you're interested in GRRR. But the other one that's continuing to print and hasn't given up the ghost at all, and this has been a strong trend for MOR, up 50% or thereabouts, just shy of 50%, 49.5, now 49 2/3, $17 top. Technically 16.97, the high of day, but look at this bounce back into 16 bucks, held up beautifully, and that gave you a nice pop up, 60 plus pennies or so. This one might break the top at some point today. MOR, awfully strong, but this is not a small cap gapper, guys. MOR is a big boy name. It's about $2.5 billion, $2.6 billion right now with the recent pop. Market cap, so it's not a small cap gapper, but it does have small cap gapper-ish float, 32.5 million shares on MOR, so not that big either. Those are the names we've been looking at on the day. Not much else for me to chime in on other than, I'm looking for a 189 continuation here on Apple.
Yeah, I think that Apple 189, that would be almost a $3 club. That would be fabulous for Apple. Best of luck.
We were in the $3 club for like very momentary, because 189.25 is the high of day. Hit it, Katina Man. The Katina Man's got 2 $3 clubs currently, baby. Make sure to keep your eye on the chat if you are following the Katina Man's trades, as he's often putting his new positions in the chat. So keep your eye on the chat.
Sean was like, $3 club, you say? Hit it. Yeah, I enjoyed that. I love like the animation interludes there. But yeah, so I am in a new position. I'm doing the thing you talked about earlier, being scary. So I'm a little scared, taking a long one meg 7, taking short another one. Shout out to Nick W for pointing out this Google move. Yeah, Nick W was saying, hey, like Google looks nice for long. And I like this because look where we had that previous resistance. The idea of resistance becoming support, I really liked. So thank you for shouting that one out, Nick W. It looks like we got a part of our Tesla position, so we'll talk about that in a second. But for now, for Google in terms of my point of entry was I liked that hold. I got involved here, then we were holding that 143.70, so I added a little bit there. I am a little bit nervous here, but as long as we bounce off that 143.50-ish area, 143, I'll give to 143.40, that kind of earlier bottom, I'm comfortable staying on this trade. Because I think it's a pretty good look so far, and I think if we have that bounce there, I think it could be strong. We're still positive on the day. Tesla is making me pleased as punch indeed, and I'm going to get my last speak wetter ready because it's a pretty small position. Basically, took out part of it just below that, or just above that 181, because I like the whole dollar level as an area of getting pieces out, and also because I wanted to go kind of where we were kind of forming a little bit of a base around that just above 181. So I said, if we break below that area, I would like to take a little nibble at the profits, and so that's what ended up happening. Congrats to Elon. I'm mentioning that I believe that Tesla short, so congrats to you. Sean also in the Tesla short, 182 entry point, so much better than mine. Congrats to Sean on that short. Looks like Tesla is trying to get back above 181. We'll see if it does so with any vigor. Google still chopping around here. Eli Lilly, though, oh my gosh. Mademoiselle Lilly jumping off VWAP with a vengeance. We had that earlier area of consolidation, that 703.40. Above that, we're at 705. We had that earlier area of resistance. We're above that. We're coming into that earlier area that I said I was kind of interested in, a rejection on that 708, because we had that nice little kind of top earlier, we come back down, and then we consolidate, and that's when the short really hits, right at the start of the midday, that 11:10, and boy, am I sad I missed that move. But yeah, I think this Eli Lilly coming into 708 could be interesting. Congrats to anybody in this long. I think Eli Lilly earnings tomorrow, because that's also the topic of this week, is going to be earnings. I think certainly an interesting look as well. Also, you know what didn't break a flat bottom decisively? Meta. Yeah, Meta, we had that bounce. Meta has bounced. It bounced off 460.50. We're back at 461.50.
I'm telling you, it's range trade extraordinaire today.
I had fun ranging this one earlier, and then I wish I could have done the longer term ranges, but I think the shorter ranges, like here, just run that 463, 462.50 was certainly a good time indeed.
Oh yeah.
Also Tesla, making me a little stressed, because we hit that 181, then we kind of came back up. If we keep projecting at this 181.50, I'm not going to add to this, but I'll stay in the trade. Like I said, above 182, depending on how we do, we're going to have to make decisions there that accidentally rhymed and it was not supposed to. But I like what Tesla's doing here.
I got long 10 shares today, Tesla, in the personal account. So I'm going to be adding, little entries here and there on Tesla. I'm going to DCA. I'm going to take my time DCing into this. And the reason I'm starting really small is because, this one you're gonna need a lot of. You need to be like, I hate to say dead inside, but this is obviously a very volatile stock. So if you're not okay with the volatility, it's going to be tough. And volatility for me is hard to take in the personal account, especially with big size, hence why I really started very small. Now, if that means I miss out on the meat of the move, it means I miss out on the meat of the move, and it sucks to be me. But I definitely want to be involved in Tesla some way, somehow. I just don't know if this is the right price, especially with the headwinds that we may have with electric vehicles going into the rest of the year. Now we're talking about higher rates for longer, possibly. We're talking about shrinking margins because of increased competition. And we're talking about higher capital expenditures for Tesla, building out these new gigafactories. That's all going to eat into margins. So when this one becomes like, the $10 trillion, we're kidding, of course, the big, huge mover that it could be, your guess is as good as mine. So I'm going to work my way into this position here using small shares. Sorry about that, Rob. I do apologize. Or is that you, Chilean Nightmare? Chilean, instead of telling me in my ear, he puts it in the chat. I see. He's like, don't touch the mic, bro. I'm just trying to adjust the mic, man. I'm sorry. Yeah, but that's outlook on there on Tesla. I got long exactly 180 on the dot in the personal account. I had that resting order sitting there from last week, actually. It was a good till cancel order, yeah. So we got filled today, and then, we were sweating a little bit when we went down to 175, $5 out of the money that quick, like, geez. But in any event, I just thought I'd tell you guys that new position now, TSLA, tiny, tiny, tiny in the personal account. We're gonna let that one go and see where we end up. I know that Alfred was buying as well last week. He has a much larger position than me in Tesla, so he didn't need to add a big thing here. And he has a much lower dollar cost average than where we are right now. So, yeah, so he's adding there as well, but not hand over fist or anything. So we're gonna see what Tesla brings, And obviously there was another headline with respect to Elon this weekend, whether you want to call it a hit piece, whatever, call it what you want, but there were obviously accusations of Elon, doing drugs and stuff, and some people on the board were saying that they felt pressured by Elon to do drugs and stuff like that. Make of that what you will. We just report what's being said. We don't verify or vouch for the accuracy of those statements. So. That's the look there. Below 17.7 right now, though, Adara.
Ooh, yeah, I know someone earlier was saying, what if we get to 1,800 on the NQ? I think we'll have to wait and see on that. For now, nothing new to report. Still hanging out in Tesla. Not feeling too stressed, though. We're just chopping and churning. Google getting close to where I will have to say sayonara. Like I said, I'm looking for that decisive 143.40 hold. We're going to have to see what we do here. I think we could double bottom. We're going to have to see, because this bottom held up pretty well earlier, and then we had the nice swoop up. So we're going to have to see what, I don't want to, search too long for Google. I think the levels are pretty clear. We're going to have to pack the patience on this one, hopefully. Also, two things off of what you said on Tesla that I find interesting.
Yeah.
One, so 10 shares, you said it was a small position. You have more than the shareholder. That you do have a lot larger position than the shareholder that sued over the compensation package.
Yeah, he had not. Okay, so he had 9 shares. And no disrespect to this individual, anybody who has shares needs to be respected as a shareholder. But the allegations are that he was the front man for the plaintiffs' bar association. So the plaintiffs' bar association, what they do is they want more grounds on which to sue. The more liability that can be spread around, the more possible lawsuits. So they were salivating at the opportunity to get their hands on Elon and on Tesla. And so obviously they chose somebody, that they could help guide. Let's put it that way, okay?
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about that. Should there be a threshold to sue? So that's, I guess, the first question. There should be a minimum percentage or minimum shares. But then, that presents its own problems. So that's the issue there with Elon. In addition to that, you guys need to go and look at how the compensation package was structured. This guy would have made nothing, if he had increased Tesla's market cap from 50 billion to 100 billion. He could have doubled the market cap and received no compensation, okay? That was basically under the terms of the agreement. But because he met a certain threshold, he's entitled to that money. That's my personal view on it. Whether or not you think he's being overcompensated or whatever, I believe in freedom of contract and the guarantee that a contract should bring to a person, because you rely on that contract to your detriment. You don't take certain other actions because you're relying on the terms of that contract. So I have my reservations about that, but go and read into it. If you're interested, or if you're in Tesla and you want to know more about your investments, you should definitely be
In Tesla. Sorry.
Wow. Yeah. Anyway, that's my little spiel on Tesla there, Adair. But
Thank you.
We're right back at 17.7 or thereabouts. We're a couple of points below it. Kevin Mendoza saying FANG. Let's have a look at FANG. I hope you're not talking about like FANG previously. Facebook and stuff like that. Let's. Maybe the actual ticker FANG. Let's find out. Yeah, it's not a bad look here. What is this? FANG. Let's find out more about this. So FANG bouncing up here off that 148 touch and right back into 150.50. Nice V-shaped recovery. Looking to go green on the day. It's a smidge red at the moment, but Diamondback Energy having a decent day. The volume is not there though. About 475,000 shares done. Oil's been a tough trade lately, guys. I mean, we're back green again on WTI. It's up 1 1/3, but we were dancing at that $72 level not that long ago. Yeah, FANG, not a bad trade there. What is everybody else saying in the chat? Crazy Stitch Lady says, agreed. Luke Water says, preach it, man. You are 100% correct. Yeah, look, man, I'm not looking for to be correct. I feel he's owed what he's due. That's really all I feel about that. Anurag, did you get back into Meta in your long-term too? No, I did not. I remember correctly, you sold after the 2/3 or great earnings, right? So I basically held Meta from around 133 into that 233, and it was 233. It broke during earnings, and the Katina was sitting right there, and I'm like, that's it. That's the end of the Meta trade. Obviously, one of my worst decisions ever, as it ran another $200. But yeah, you can't ever catch it all, Adair.
Yeah, we're not Pokemon over here. Pokemon over here. Or the whatever, I don't know enough about Pokemon to continue this analogy. But yeah, the other thing too I found was interesting is you used that 10 trillion hypothetical for Tesla. Well, it's funny, like I said, I've been looking at Tesla Bull Twitter because I find that kind of interesting. And they say 10 trillion quite legitimately.
Oh.
They're like, oh, we're going to get Tesla to 10 trillion. So I just thought it was funny that was the random number you used.
Yeah, I didn't actually
I know it was
do that.
random, but I just thought it was funny because that's the same number that I was seeing them use on the Twitter this weekend, which I just thought was kind of interesting there. Also, yeah, I'm in this Tesla trade. I added a bit at the time we were holding 180, 170. We broke above that 182. If we hold that 182 break, I will have to say goodbye and let the Cybertruck drive off into the mist, drive off into the sunset. I will not be part of it, but I'm happy it took some profit here. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so with a $2,000 share price, I have no idea what the market cap of Tesla would be. But our friend Kathy Wood does have a $2,000 a share price target on Tesla, and that is after the split. So that came out November 13th, 2023. So that's after the 2 splits that Tesla had during the pandemic years or whatever. It had a couple of splits. I believe one was 4-1, one was 3-1, maybe 5-1, I forget. The first one was bigger than the second one though. So $2,000 a share. I don't know what kind of, let's see what this article says, what kind of market cap that implies. Let's see if I can quickly see this here. This comes vis-a-vis the Motley Fool. Yes, that would be a $9 trillion market cap. So assuming a $2,000 a share price target right now on TSLA, that implies a $9 trillion market cap. She's aiming for by 2030 to say that Tesla is going to be $9 trillion. I mean, I guess just looking at it, you know, from like that, it looks absurd, but we'll see how absurd it is when things come to pass. Molfar, take it easy there in the chat there. That's funny. She's had that price target since 2017. I think she's adjusted it because this is a new, it's a new article, likely post-split. Yeah, look, whatever you feel about Kathy Wood, she's obviously an intelligent lady. You may be disagreeing with her. 5 minutes left on the show, Adara. What are your looks over there? What is that?
I got out of the Google because we broke below that. I had to say no. I like the point of entry initially because, you know, shout out to Nick W for calling it this one. I think it was a really nice thesis in that we did have that really, for a while we were holding that 143.80. That was the area we also had some resistance earlier. It looked like resistance becoming support. Didn't go okay, that's all right. You know, I'm happy I took the trade, and I'm really just trying to take, you know, this is something I was looking at anyway, that Google, so I'm just really happy I took the trade. I like the look. Also, Tesla, I did get out of the Cybertruck because we broke above that 182. I had to wave through the window, no Vision Pro, no rose-colored Vision Pros on. I saw that break above 182, I had to leave. Also, Ian Rispetto, $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. What do you think of Baba for earnings this week, or Baba?
Baba. Shout out to Ian.
We'll have to see how it looks here. I know Sean was on this name earlier.
Oh, he was killing it on that.
Yeah, kill it. Oh my, Baba. Okay, start with the 5 minute. I think this slightly lower high could be interesting. I do not want to call consolidated top because sometimes those can be tricky. However, I think it'd be something worth noting. Do we see lower highs and lower lows? Also, though, but also congrats on the long on this, anyone who had this long. Holy cow, great look. Also, RIP, my daily chart. Give me a moment here. P Pro 8 just decided it needed a breather, and that's okay. Let's look at, yeah, Alibaba is Wednesday before market open, I do believe. I had that on the watch list this morning. And here is the daily chart on Baba. Are you seeing anything for the earnings expectations?
Yeah, I'm just going to talk. Yeah,
please
this is
do.
what the earnings expectations is. And when we were talking earlier about knowing what the analysts are projecting for both the current quarter and the guide, this is kind of what I'm telling you to look for over here. So, you know, my platform, we're not going to, you can get this kind of stuff on Benzinga, right? You can get this kind of stuff on Trade Ideas. So make sure to check out both those sponsors if you want to be able to access stuff like this if you already don't have it. But look what the analysts are saying. So 2 weeks ago, the consensus expectation for Baba's fourth quarter earnings stood at basically $273 a share. Revenue expectations around $37 2/3 billion. That would mark a 4.9% increase from a year ago. You know, they're saying Jack Ma remains a firm believer in the company. He's holding a lot of shares. It looks like he's been buying up some shares, about $152 million worth. Was that, hold on, they have Jack Ma and Joe Tsai. So it looks like Joe Tsai bought $152 million worth, and Jack Ma bought about $50 million worth. These are the Hang Seng listed shares. So the reason that's important is because we always look at insider trading to see what the, not insider trading, sorry, insider buying or selling, to see what the insiders are, what their view is of the company vis-a-vis their buying or selling. A lot of these insiders, though, they have trading plans, by the way. So, like, they forecast it 6 months, a year down the road. They're like, okay, on April 1st, I'll be de-risking or I'll be selling X amount of shares, so that you can't really come back to them and say later, oh, you sold on inside information. So they try to put out these sale or buying plans ahead of time, and then they try to execute on them so that you can't really say whether or not they were misusing their position. Anyway, it looks like BABA's earnings expected to grow year over year. We'll have to see whether the market likes that. China has been a tough trade. You saw what happened to me on the Li Auto trade. We ended up getting about $1.50 loss on that Li Auto trade. I still believe in the company. I still think it's a hell of a potential move to the upside. But if the market doesn't care what I think, it doesn't care what I think, we'll have to see what BABA does. But you know where BABA was a few years ago? Like in $300-something. Yeah, now we're at 75. So it's a bit of a tough.
Woo.
Kyle Burdett says Big Daddy Jack been on he's a very good boy since his little vacation. Yes, he went missing there for a while, and we didn't know where he was. And then a running joke or a running gag around here was like, "Where's Jack Ma?"
Yeah,
right?
you were
Nobody
telling
could
me
find
about
Jack
that,
Ma.
and yeah, it was like Jack Ma spotted, like all these, like I was looking into it. It's pretty funny, yeah.
That's basically it. We got a couple of minutes left on the show, Adara. We're just a smidge below 17.7. We've been rejecting off 17.7 on the future. We've also been rejecting that 690 level on NVIDIA. It seems to be accumulating around there. We're holding that pivot point on Apple. The pivot point on Apple, which is about 188.5. Meta has been a weak name on the day, which was basically the opposite of last week, but it's been holding that 460 level real well. The other one here has been Tesla. It's been rejecting off support level 2 here on pivots. We'll have to wait and see what the power hour brings. The big kahunas are getting started and they're warmed up if they're not already. And I think we have a minute left on the show, Adara. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you to Bears vs. Bulls. Thank you to everybody for the support in the chat. I mean, we have a lot of fun bringing earnings to you, especially during earnings week, and we've got more stuff down the pipeline for the rest of this week. So let's talk some more earnings plays.
Yes, tomorrow for my options traders, we're going to be talking all week about how to trade earnings. Tomorrow, specifically, the lesson will be straddle or strangle option strategy. Make sure to check us out tomorrow, 11 o'clock. Adara and I will be taking you through that lesson.
Yeah, but right now it looks like, if I'm just checking what time we were at, we're going to be taking you through to the big desk, but not to fear, we will be back tomorrow. Same bad time and the same bad channel. For now, though, Brendan is in fact at that big desk.
Hey guys, yeah, welcome in. 2 o'clock on a busy Monday afternoon here as we get into the final couple hours of the trading session with, I was just noting both the 30